I think Tevez going to Juventus, what a coup that was for me. I mean,
on a head-to-head battle, Atletico Madrid can do more damage to Barcelona than the other way around.
Either he's really blind or he's fixing the match. I can't see it any other way.
I'm trying to get Sir Bob on my side here by saying City will win the Premier League.
It is an upset. You would expect Man United to go and win there.
Over $1 billion was paid in transfer fees between the clubs in Europe.
It's football. It's damn football. Like Ferguson said, football. Bloody marvellous.
Yeah, well, the celebration was, I can't believe I just scored against Mexico. At one point, Parma, I think it's only like 224 players under contract. Hey, they're going to throw me out of here, fellas. You're going to get me arrested on your show.
If you're a serious talent, you're going back and you're playing for Santos. You're going back to play for, like in Argentina, for River Plate or Boca Juniors, or you're going to Europe.
He looked like the Ryan Giggs of old. He was more creative than any player on the pitch. He made Mata look stupid. He made Rooney look silly.
Now, the Premier League is the most exciting league out there. I think it's probably the best marketed league without a question.
When you look at the draw for the Champions League, you kind of say, well, all the pieces kind of fell into place for everybody except City.
I am your host, Joe Ucello. Sir Bob, Mike Orr. My co-host, Rob Rojas. My trusted co-host, Ben the Machine. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 76 of Low Limit Football. I am your host, Joe Ucello, and playing that particular tune in honor of Barcelona, who is the 2015 Champions League winners from this past weekend. Pulled off, I believe, as far as I know, the first double treble in any club's history, winning their third title this year and doing it for the second time, and Luis Enrique being compared to Pep Guardiola over and over again. First in, let me bring in the victorious Roberto Rojas. Rob, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well, Joe, and just I want to say a good showing for Juventus in that matchup.
Yeah,
you really played well.
We're obviously going to get into the showing or into the match itself coming up in a few minutes with Xoel Cardenas, but I've got to say it wasn't a whitewashing that everyone had expected Barca to put on them. It was still, I thought, a pretty close game overall, and obviously we'll dig into it a little deeper, but certainly was entertaining nonetheless. So bringing in also tonight the neutral in this three-man team, Sir Bob, Mike Orr. Mike, how are you tonight?
Good, but I disagree with both of you. I thought Juventus looked rather average.
Well, then, what did Barca look like? Because that match was.
It looked like the 3-1 score I predicted.
Let's get one thing straight. You didn't predict the score.
Well,
All right.
I set the lineups. I pushed the buttons.
So you could have actually worked it so that Juve would have won the match.
No, that was just. There's no way for that to have happened, even if I fixed it.
Whatever. So obviously we've got a big show going on tonight. We have, joining us in about 15 minutes, Xoel Cardenas coming back, covers Barcelona, and we're going to get into the coverage a little deeper. I mean, I have some thoughts as a Juve supporter and from what I observed on the match this week. Coming up in the
Joe, did you see my comment from Josie Altidore?
About Sebastian Giovinco?
Yeah.
I did. I've been meaning to talk to you about him. Maybe we'll talk about it in the MLS.
No, but I mean, what do you think about that comment in particular to Saturday's game?
Relation,
to Saturday's game.
Well, you mean in terms of Italy's game or in terms of?
No, I guess you didn't see the tweet. His tweet was, "Are you trying to tell me that Juventus couldn't have used Seba off the bench on Saturday?"
Yeah, it was. It looked like to me it was more of an Italian comment, but I did read the comment. Not for nothing, Sebastian Giovinco doesn't affect that match. Josie Altidore's crazy. He does not. Not for nothing. If he would have come on for anybody, it would have been for Carlos Tevez, who I thought had a really good game. And he would not have affected the match. Giovinco's, granted, he's having great success in MLS right now, but I don't think he does. I don't think he does the same amount of damage in the last 20 minutes of that Champions League final. To me, it doesn't happen. So,
are you saying Serie A is better than MLS?
Next topic. So like I said, Xoel Cardenas coming up in about 10-15 minutes. Tom Marshall from ESPNFC is going to join us at 7 o'clock. We're going to talk to him about the Mexican national side. He covers Mexico and American-based players in Mexico for ESPNFC. So we're going to talk to him about those things, how he thinks Mexico is going to do in the Copa America, some of the players that are currently playing in Mexico for that are part of the U.S. men's national team. We'll chat with him a little bit about that. And then coming up at about just before 8 o'clock, we will have Jotita Bernabe back on to help preview the Copa America, which kicks off on Thursday. So why don't we do this? Obviously, we have a new chat room. Let's talk about that real quick. We've opened our website this week, lowlimitfootball.com. You can go there. We're starting to post some articles. Myself, I've written a couple. Mike, you've written one. Rob, you're going to be doing a summary of the Champions League final that we're going to get thrown up there within the next day or two, I think, right, Rob?
Yeah.
And the three of us are going to try to continue to post articles on there that are pertinent to soccer of the day.
Rob will get them up there as soon as he gets off that party circuit.
Yeah, exactly. If anyone is interested, by the way, in writing articles for us, obviously we pay in round numbers. We pay huge round numbers for it, $0.00. But if you're interested in dabbling and want to come on and maybe write a little article or an opinion piece about something, we're absolutely welcome to it. You can reach out to any one of the three of us. Obviously, Sir Bob is reachable at Sir Bob Orr on Twitter. I'm at JP Ucello. You can also reach the Low Limit Football Twitter handle, and Blaugrana R for Rob. You can reach any one of us, and happy to entertain the thoughts of posting some articles that you might want to see. Or if you have topics that you want us to talk about, happy to do that as well. Also, we have our live interactive chat going right now. Some of the usual suspects, like Luca's in there, El Crisco, Victor Scamorza, James Hart. There's a couple. There's a couple that I don't recognize, like Hung Minson 7. There was also there's a Steve that has just joined the chat, so welcome to him. And I know there's a few other names that have floated through here, like I think there was the Champions League winner 2015 or something like that. So we've
no Liam.
No, we have Luca. We don't have Liam yet. Maybe Liam's one of those other ones. So so glad to have them aboard, and obviously with the new website, we're really excited. There are some bugs we're still working out. There's supposed to be a player. Oh, Liam's there. Never mind. So obviously there's a player at the top of our chat page. It's not working at the moment, and we're going to have that up and running, I'd say, within the next week, hopefully. Again, special thanks to Four Dragons Media. He's worked really, really hard on this site for the past 2 weeks and training a newbie like me to help keep it up and running. So I'm really glad he's involved, and he's going to be maintaining the site with us for the next few months as well. So we'll get to work on that. So, I don't want to waste too much more time because I know we've got a great opening thoughts segment, and we have the trivia question. So, Mike, do you want to hit us with the trivia?
All right. Which player has scored the most Premier League hat tricks without having won a Premier League winner's medal?
Most Premier League hat tricks without a Premier League winner's medal. I think that one has one.
I think I have one. You have one name.
Oh, damn it! I think Steve just clued us in on it, but I don't want to use that one just yet. I'm gonna go with this particular. I'm gonna write it down.
Yeah, me too. I think I have one already.
Okay, I do like Steve had mentioned Luis Suarez, but again, we hold the answer until the end of the show. So, Mike, I'm going to keep it with you, my friend, for our opening thoughts topic, and this came about as a comment from Liam on Twitter. If you want to,
Luca.
I'm sorry, it was Luca. I'm sorry.
At El Crisco.
Yes, he is the one that actually suggested this, and it was kind of in jest. He said afterwards, but we're taking it and running with it. So why don't you go ahead and explain what happened?
I think it was half tongue-in-cheek. He wrote, Serie A is the second best league in Europe, better than La Liga, better than Premier League. Enter and Stamp, etc. would beat Liverpool and Southampton. So I asked him just to clarify if he meant in a league, and he said yes. And I said, okay, I'm going to sim this on FIFA. So we've got teams 5 through 8 from both leagues: Napoli, Genoa, Sampdoria, Inter, Liverpool, Southampton, Swansea, and Tottenham. So it's 8 teams, so it'd be a 14-game season, and see what happens.
All right, and for tonight's opening thoughts segment, we basically have gone through and started to give our predictions for certain categories. So why don't you give us the category? Rob and I will give you our selections, and then if people in the chat want to, chime in with their selections for the particular topic, then we'll go ahead and we'll mention those on the air as well. So why don't you go ahead, Mike?
Okay, so I'll say the 8 teams again, just in case somebody in the chat does want to. It's Napoli, Genoa, Sampdoria, Inter, Milan, Liverpool, Southampton, Swansea, and Tottenham, and that represents teams 5 through 8 in both leagues. And they'll play a 14-game season, 1 home game, 1 away game. And so what I would like to get is who you guys think would be the champion.
Rob, go ahead.
I pick Napoli.
And we're both on the same page. I also pick Napoli.
But Joe, you're going to throw in a qualifier, I bet.
No qualifier. I was actually, when I was just doing some quick little research on the 8 teams, just kind of looking over them quickly, I was shocked at how good the Napoli midfield is. It is incredible. You're looking at players, just 4 names I'm going to give you. Jose Callejon, Marek Hamsik, Dries Mertens, and Gabbiadini. All 4 of them play in the midfield. We didn't talk about Gulam or any of those other guys that play in the more of a defensive role.
What about Gargano? Did you say him?
I didn't even say Gargano.
Or Callejon?
I did say Callejon.
Insigne.
Oh, okay.
Lorenzo Insigne, who's listed either as an attacking midfielder or as a striker. That there's so much depth in that Napoli midfield that it was almost an easy choice. I mean, I think on the surface I said Napoli to begin with, but then I'm like, absolutely Napoli. And UCL winners saying Napoli or Everton. Everton is actually not a choice.
No.
Because they didn't finish anywhere 5 through 8 in the league for the EPL. So
that's Liverpool, Southampton, Swansea, and Tottenham in the EPL.
Correct. But obviously Rob and I went with Napoli. Again, UCL winners went with Napoli or Everton. So I'm thinking he's going to have Napoli in that one.
I have Lucas picks too, so I'll just say that he took Inter.
He took Inter.
Not surprised.
Okay. So Mike, how about you?
I'm not going to pick Joe, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm already through the second week of the season.
Yeah.
And I just want to keep it impartial, so that just so whoever's supposed to win wins.
Okay. So what other components do you want to talk about?
Okay, so give me who you guys think out of those 8 teams the top goaltender would be.
All right. I will go first because I was choosing between two. For me, it was either Hugo Lloris or Samir Handanovic. I'm probably making a mistake, but I went with Handanovic in this one. He's, to me, over the past 2 or 3 years, has been an incredible goalkeeper. Lloris is definitely top class, and if anyone says Lloris over Handanovic, I would agree. I'm just deciding to go with Handanovic on this one, but I could easily see Lloris. Rob, how about you?
I'm going to be the opposition and go for Lloris.
Okay, yeah, I think those were the two absolute choices. I
know I said I'm not going to pick, but a couple other names that I would throw out, or at least one name for sure that I think should be in some people's consideration is Fraser Forster.
Okay.
Southampton, and I guess that would be the only name I'm going to throw out.
I was thinking another one as well, Perrine from Genoa.
Yeah, he's good too.
He's a good one. I mean, even to some extent, you could also almost include Mignolet, although he's a lot of times he's hit or miss. I agree. And obviously every G's
what about that other guy, Viviano?
Who's he? He's
Viviano?
Yeah, from Samp.
Sampdoria, is it?
Yeah, he's pretty good. Steve's got Roman Berkey. El Crisco's got he likes Perrin. UCL Winners has Lloris.
He already told me though. He's got the same as you.
Oh, he's got Handanovic too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there's some. I think that position in this group of 8 teams is probably the strongest position. Although the striker position, as we're going to find out in a minute, is going to be really, really
difficult.
Yeah, because it's really tight. It's between, I think, 2 people, but we'll definitely pick one. But go ahead, Mike, continue, because I know we have our guest coming up here in a minute. So
okay, so let's try and rush through this then. The top defender,
Rob,
Jose Fonte.
Good one. I like that one, Rob.
I had 4 names chosen. I'm going to end up being all Italian here. I had 4 names chosen. The 2 names that I wrote down immediately were Fonte and Koulibaly from Napoli. The other name that I would like to throw in there, although he kind of fell off at the end of the season, was Ranocchia. But I agree with you guys. I think Fonte is definitely the way to go in this one.
So that's who you're taking, Joe?
Yeah, I'm going to take Fonte as well. But Koulibaly is really a guy that I would. That's a close second for me.
Okay, let's move on then, so we can get these done for the guest. The next one's your center midfielder.
Okay, for me, I'm going with Marek Hamšík. Awesome midfielder. He led Napoli in assists this year. And obviously there's tons to choose from. You could have chosen from Philippe Coutinho. You could have chosen Gabbiadini again, but I went with Hamšík.
Oh, and just for the record, Luka took Vidic for his defender.
Okay, yeah.
All right, and who are you taking, Rob?
Morgan Schneiderlin.
Oh, okay. And that's the same as Luka.
Yeah, and also the same as Victor Scamorza.
I'll get Victor's after this. I'll start writing down what ones I can in the chat.
Every G's got Kovacic. Obviously, UCL Winners is adding Font to the list. And everyone says that everybody likes Rob's pick, so I'm the contrarian there. So all right, next one.
Striker.
Want me to go?
Go ahead.
Mauro Icardi.
Ditto. It was either him or Harry Kane, but I went with Icardi as well. Obviously, led the tied for the Capocannoniere in Italy with Luca Toni this year. Harry Kane had a fantastic season, but Icardi's done it for the past couple of years. I knew somebody was going to say Balotelli. Higuain, for all the good that Higuain gives you, also gives you so much choke that it's not worth it.
One name I'll throw out in a short season like this that no one mentioned is Eto'o.
Samuel Eto'o?
Eto'o.
Yeah,
But I don't think he was that noticeable.
Yeah,
but he played enough games to qualify to play in this league, so he will come in off the bench. That's why I tried to take the player, so that we're not going to have some guy playing that's only played 1 game in a 14-game season. So
understandable.
UCL
he'll be coming off the bench. He's definitely not a starter.
Okay, so the last one.
Oh, and sorry, Luca took Kane for the record.
Okay.
Okay, goal. Your goal leader. We won't call it the Golden Boot because it's not a tournament. So your goal leader.
Mauro Icardi.
Cardi.
All right.
Yeah.
And for the record, Luca took Palacio.
Rodrigo Palacio. Yeah, is another good option from Inter.
Okay, and your assist leader.
I'll go. Marek Hamsik. I took Hamsik.
Same.
He led all of these guys in assists. I believe he had 12 on the season, if I remember my research correctly. No reason.
Well, if they liked Rob's team, they must like yours now, Joe, because your last 3 picks are exactly the same. Although I did miss your center midfielder.
I chose Mark Hamsik. I took Hamsik as my midfielder, and he's my top assist guy. I said you could have had, we could have even talked about Philip Coutinho, who is, and they're saying you guys are thinking too rationally. It's FIFA.
And Luca took, but that's what makes it an interesting discussion. And Luca took Ericsson.
Took Ericsson. And he was another good option. Definitely another good option there. And I think he had quite a few assists too. I think he was 11 or 10, if I remember right, when I was doing my research. So. And
one name that no one mentioned that anything on all of this that could do fairly well is a good player, Sigurdsson.
Yeah, Gylfi Sigurdsson was definitely another one that was on the list. It was funny. The one player that was an interesting player to look at when I was doing this research was Gabbiadini, who transferred in the transfer window in the winter from Sampdoria, who's in this competition, to Napoli, who's in this competition. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So,
and now the final thing, who you think would be relegated? Would just use one team since it's only an 8-team league. So one team to be relegated.
The one team that for me that would be relegated out of these 8 is Swansea.
Same.
All right, and that is also what Lucas said. I would say. I know that I'm not going to go in it, but the worst team for me is definitely Genoa.
You think so? I mean, Genoa had a good way. They were pretty strong to close the season.
I think they're the worst team on paper going into it.
Yeah,
so we'll see what happens. I'll get some of these ones down from the chat now.
All right, so not loading. Joining us now on Low Limit Football, returning to us on Low Limit Football, a very happy Xoel Cardenas. Xoel, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Can you guys hear me well?
I can. We can hear you great. Congratulations, first of all, on your Blaugrana winning the treble.
No. Thank you. It's all to the culés. Thank you. The players. It's I don't know. It's been an incredible weekend. What could I say?
So I have I'd like your thoughts on the match overall, and then I want to ask you about a few different plays in particular. So give me your thoughts on the opening on the match itself.
Overall, with the match, was it what I expected? Yes and no. Yes, in the sense of the way Barcelona controlled the play, especially in particular the first half. But no, in the fact that I did not expect for Barca to struggle so badly, getting the ball from the goalkeeper, heading it up. I expected a little bit more finishing, especially in the first half, from Messi and Suarez, who, in my opinion, Messi showed up when he crossed, obviously, to Jordi Alba to set up the first goal. But the first half, Luis Suarez, he missed some chances, but those were later in the first half, so he didn't really show up the first, it was about 25 minutes, 30 minutes into the match. And as far as Juve, I knew they had a lot of heart. Obviously, they were going to come in. I did not know where the goal scoring was really going to come from, other than, Morata, he's good. He could poach it in definitely for sure. Tevez is obviously a very good player. I thought Pogba had a good match. I thought, he was going to be, if they were going to score 2 or 3 goals, it was going to come mainly from the playmaking of Pogba. For those 10 minutes that after Morata equalized, Juventus could have gone there, could have got up 2-1, and it would have been really bad. I don't know where if Messi was going to be able to show up even more, but overall, obviously, once Luis Suarez pounced in that goal, I didn't expect Juventus to equalize, and Neymar was just really the cherry on top for that last goal.
To me, watching the match, when Juve equalized, it almost felt like it was the worst thing that happened to them because they got a little stretched, and that allowed Messi and Neymar to really start to work in between that back line and that midfield and cause trouble where Suarez scored that second goal soon after. Mm-hmm. I want to ask your opinion on 3 different plays, and then I'm going to turn you over to Rob. And really just yes or no questions, so real simple. The first one was Stefan Lichtsteiner. Was that a handball?
I did not think it was a handball. No.
Okay. Neymar's goal, the first one, was that a handball?
I thought it was a handball.
Okay. And Paul Pogba and Mascherano getting tied up in the box just before the second goal for Barcelona, was that a penalty?
It was not a penalty. I think it was Dani Alves with Pogba.
Was it Dani Alves? I thought it was Mascherano, but okay. Okay, so I mean, those are my questions. I thought the Pogba one was a little bit more of a penalty. It looked like he had his arm around Pogba when he went down. But again, and again, that really is where the play broke down, going back the other way to score that second goal with Suarez.
Right.
Other than that, I thought honestly, Juve showed very well. Did not get overwhelmed by Barca. I thought Barca's first goal was a great display of quick one-touch passing to break down a defense to score a goal. I also thought that I've been listening to some of the comments on Talk Sport, and apparently the announcers on Talk Sport thought that Buffon made a mistake on the second goal with Suarez. I didn't feel that Buffon made a mistake with that save. I mean, it was a tough save to make. Just like on the Morata goal, the Ter Stegen save was a tough save to make on Carlos Tevez. So they were both very similar plays in the way that both goals were scored. If anything, the defenses were at fault for not picking up that extra man. But other than that, I thought the two teams were I don't want to say evenly matched, but they were well matched, and I do think the better team won.
No, I agree. I think Juventus was definitely a great sub-champion. I think they are a great sub-champion. I think obviously they showed why they deserve to be in the final. Do they need a little bit more offense? That's questionable. I am not a Juventus follower, so I don't know. So I'll ask you the question: do you see them going for more offense coming up this summer? What are your thoughts?
I think it's going to.
Now I turn the tables.
Yeah, no, that's fine, and I appreciate it. I think it depends on what happens with Morata. If Morata gets called, I mean, obviously they've already signed Dybala. So they've already added more firepower there, and I think at a good price on a young kid from Argentina. It depends on is Carlos Tevez going back to Boca Juniors soon? That remains to be seen. Is Alvaro Morata going to get called back to Real Madrid? Which apparently there are rumors that I think there's a $30 million buyout clause that can happen. So again, what's going to happen there? Because I think those are two enormous keys. Adding Dybala is nice. They also have to consider what are they going to do with Pirlo. Right now the rumors are that Pirlo's going to NYCFC. That's going to add to the offense, although he was kind of broken down a little bit more here or there this year. So do they add somebody as a holding midfielder? Gonna wait to see there. I don't think they go necessarily for more offense per se. I think they kind of clean up what they've got. And I think they're going to go as far as Buffon is playing at his top. If we start to see him slip, then I think they're in a little bit more trouble. I think losing Buffon would be a much bigger issue than, let's say, losing Carlos Tevez at this point.
Right. No, I agree.
Yeah. So, all right, Rob, I'm going to throw it over to you because I know you have some questions for Joel, and try to keep the fandom down to a minimum, please.
Enhorabuena, Joel. How are you?
Muy bien, gracias. Felicidades a usted y a todos los demás.
Gracias. I just have a few questions regarding the entire season overall. Do you feel that Neymar's performances throughout the season and even in the final has earned him in contention to become considered the third best player in the world behind Messi and Ronaldo?
For now, I want to say yes, but then again, that's my fandom coming out. But I think, we've seen what he's done with Brazil. I think I'm going to say not yet. I'm still going to say not yet. And I know probably some Barca fans are not going to like that I said that, but I don't think not yet. I think Manuel Neuer, yes, he's a goalkeeper, but I think he's the third best player overall in the world. That's just my opinion. But he's getting there. I mean, could he be a Ballon d'Or finalist, later this year? If especially he leads Brazil, let's say, to a Copa America title, then yeah, I mean, definitely, then he would have shown it. But I think this season he's done well, but there's been a lot of moments. There's been a few moments, actually, to say, even around January, during the whole January crisis, Neymar wasn't showing up. He wasn't doing too much as well. And then, obviously Luis Suarez came in and, in particular January, February, just kind of began to take over along with Messi. Not that Neymar hasn't done, obviously, his performances. We've seen what he's done in the Champions League. He's been brilliant. But, I still think, it's tough when you have Messi in that shadow, and then even when you have Suarez, right there. I think for Neymar, he's progressed. Obviously, he's becoming, he's top 5 for sure. As far as he's the third best, to me, he's not. I still think Neuer is better, but at the end of the season, we'll see what he does in Copa America, and it kind of goes with Lionel Messi as well. I think he's won the Ballon d'Or already. He's wrapped it up, but if Messi can wrap up, the Copa America, that's what can you say?
Okay. Do you feel Luis Enrique will maintain their goalkeeper rotation with Ter Stegen playing Copa del Rey and Champions League and Bravo playing La Liga, or will there be a bit of a mix come next season?
I think next season you're going to begin to see a bit of a mix. I mean, I think Ter Stegen has proven, obviously he's a big-time goalkeeper. Me personally, when he was signed, I knew he was a talented kid from Borussia Mönchengladbach, but, I just didn't know how he was going to be, in these quarterfinals, semifinals, and, if Barca made it to a final, how would he perform in such a big stage? And obviously we've seen what he's done. So I think now, Luis Enrique does have to consider, okay, he's obviously the keeper, whether Luis Enrique is there or not in the future, let's say, in 5 years, Ter Stegen's still going to be there, So we got to get this kid in Liga games and get him a little bit more of a regular rotation. Now, as far as Claudio Bravo is concerned, I mean, do you put him in a couple of Copa games to make up for taking him away from Liga games? Personally, that's what I would do if I was Lucho. I would sit down with Claudio, let him know what's going on, but I would put Bravo in some of these Copa del Rey games, and start rotating there. As far as Champions League, I would still go with Ter Stegen. Obviously, he's my number one, but I don't think Lucho can continue on a second year of just having Bravo, Liga, and Ter Stegen Champions and Copa. I think he needs to get the kid in Liga games.
How much an effect will Alex Vidal have coming from Sevilla to Barcelona in January?
It'll be tremendous in January, just because, if Dani Alves does go, which is now looks like it's, 70-30 probably, have to bounce up the numbers a little bit there, or maybe even more, maybe 80-20 that Dani leaves. They're going to have to go. Barcelona's going to have to go a couple of months, obviously, with Montoya at right back. Obviously, we won't even talk about Douglas, even though I just did. But
he has a Champions League medal.
That's true. That is true. One more, he catches up to Ronaldo. But anyway, or do you put Marc Bartra? He can play. He's even said, Marc Bartra has said he can play right back. You can even put Mascherano, even if things got really bad, you could put Javier Mascherano on the right back side. Some people have said Pedro. I don't think Pedro re-signed to be a right back, or obviously they would not have signed Alexis Vidal. I think there are options there, and so Barcelona's going to have to go essentially late August to September, all the way through December with this lineup. In La Liga, I think they'll be fine. I think they should be fine. Champions League will be interesting to see, how they line up. If they, we saw Luis Enrique trust Montoya in the PSG first leg game. Montoya started there. We'll see if he continues on with that, or does he go with, let's say, a Marc Bartra to go along with Piqué, Mascherano, and Jordi Alba back there. But as soon as Alexis Vidal comes in, he's obviously he's a good kid. I know there's some fans that have I've read this morning that were a little surprised that they signed somebody who's he's 25 going on 26. I can't believe people are complaining about signing a player that's 25 going on 26, saying that he's too old. But then again, that's football, I guess, nowadays. Everybody wants, a 21-year-old, I guess, to be signed to their team, which is, to me, is ridiculous. I mean, this kid, and he's still a kid in my opinion, he was going to be there for the next 4 or 5 seasons. He's going to be fine. He's going to take time to adjust, so I don't expect him to be, a complete game changer, but I do expect him, to see what I saw a bit with what he did with Sevilla, and in particular in their Europa League run. And he's obviously has a championship experience, obviously not to the level of Champions League or even a Liga winning season, but the Europa League still is not, just a small cakewalk. Obviously, he performed very well, impressed a lot in the final as well, which had some teams buzzing. But, glad Barcelona's got him. They're right back of the future. There was a little worry about, what about, we lost on Danilo or whatnot. That's fine, and who knows if it would have worked out. Who knows if it's going to work out with Alexis Vidal. But I think with his style of play, I think with him understanding and the fact that he accepted the fact that he's not going to play for 4 months, he's just going to be training, or he's just, going to be obviously just watching his now new teammates, is not going to be able to build that chemistry until January. He's willing to accept that to come, obviously to win titles, but, that still to me says a lot about, somebody who was willing to just maybe go to the Premier League or go to somewhere else, maybe not for, so much money more, but to start, and to start immediately instead to say, I'm going to come back home. I'm going to sit out here for a while, but I'm going to improve in those 4 months. And that's what he said in the press conference earlier this morning. So, so far I've been impressed. We'll see what he does in training.
Yeah. It should be interesting to see what he's capable of doing. Just one last question, and I guess this is the ultimate question. Do you feel this Barcelona side that won the treble is better than the one from 08-09?
That's the $1 million question there. Here's my take, and I'm probably going to get ripped, but that's fine. I do think this team is better than the 08-09 team. I think the 08-09 team is obviously more memorable for now because, obviously this happened just a couple of days ago that, this Barcelona won the treble. It's still too early to put them in history so far, but I'm going to try to attempt it now. With the 08-09 team, I think they were more memorable, obviously, because it was the first treble. Also, the way some of the games that were won and the way they were dramatically won, just the impact, are memorable games. Whereas this season there were memorable games, but maybe not as much as that 08-09 that had, the 6-2 beating of Madrid, or had, the Iniestazo at Stamford Bridge, things like that. I think, for me, and even if you see it on paper, if we're going to, make that argument, this team is better than the 08-09 team. And the attack, in my opinion, of this team, of Lucho's treble-winning team, is better than the 08-09, which was pretty good. I mean, obviously with Eto'o, Henry, and Messi, but, you have a Messi who, in my opinion, is better now than he was, in 08-09. I think Neymar is obviously far more talented than either Eto'o and Henry was at that moment, I should say, just in that moment. And obviously we know what Luis Suarez can do, and what he's shown he can do in big games. So for me, and the defense, I don't know, that's close because the defense back then was good as well as this season it was. The goalkeeping, and that might be a key factor as well as the goalkeeping, whereas it was mainly Victor Valdez, obviously, in 08-09. Here you had two goalkeepers who were phenomenal. That might be the thing that breaks this tie.
Okay. And just one last thing. Do we win the remaining 3 trophies possible to get 6 trophies in 1 year?
I do think so. I think Sevilla, they're obviously a good side, but, what happened, that 2-2, about a month and a half ago or whatnot, that was obviously at Sevilla. I think in a neutral stadium, Barcelona takes them. As far as, the Spanish Super Cup, you got Athletic Club. That the first leg, which will be in Bilbao, that'll be the toughest match. But at home, I think that's pretty much wrapped up. And then, we'll see what happens with the Club World Cup. We'll see who wins the Libertadores, and because let's be honest, that'll be probably the rival for Barcelona in the final. Is going to be that team. I don't see America making it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Barcelona in the final, so it's going to be whoever wins that Copa Libertadores, and we'll see. And I think they will have enough. For me, going into next season, I'm just interested in seeing what's going to happen. If with obviously with signings, and for people that keep asking why is Barcelona making signings when they had a transfer ban, please understand the rule that Barcelona can actually sign players. They can sign players, but they can't officially sign them up as far as to play football until January. So deals could be made. Pogba could be signed tomorrow, and and that's just how it is. That's the rule works. So
Yeah.
He's been signed, all the deal is done. But we'll see what happens with the midfield. That's the one thing I'm interested in, is to see what happens with the midfield. Now with Xavi leaving, do they go with Gundogan? Do they really try to go all out with Pogba to see if that's even possible? And then obviously the elections. It's Bartomeu is supposedly going to step down tomorrow, as expected, because a month before the elections you must step down, and we'll see. We'll see what happens with Laporta if he does come in and try to run, because so far it seems like everything's ready for him to run, but he hasn't come out and said it officially yet.
Okay, thank you for answering my questions, Joel. I'm going to pass it over to Joe now.
Yeah, I actually have one or two more questions for you, Joel. Just a few minutes ago, Juan Arango had tweeted that Del Bosque said that he cannot call Alexi Vidal if he can't play with Barcelona. Does the ability for Alexi Vidal to see the pitch before January affect any of these decisions being made to bring him into Barcelona?
As far as bringing him to Barcelona, no. I mean, even if he didn't play a single match from now until January 1st, I don't think that really would have mattered to Barcelona. I think for him, does it affect him? Yeah, on a personal level, I'm sure it does. And I'm sure, for his game, definitely, he's going to need some games, and even if they're just friendlies, or even if it's with the national team, more competitive games, because obviously friendly matches we know are not very competitive. So, if he can't play for the Spanish national team, then that's not necessarily not good news, obviously, for him, and that's not necessarily good news for Barcelona. Does Barcelona care as far as the officials there? No, because they got their guy, and that's all they care. They'll see him in January.
Do you see? I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, please.
No, I was just going to say, for the officials there, they're in the business really of, they're signing the players. Obviously, they want the players to do well, but if he can't see the pitch, that's not good. But to Bartomeu and to all the other leaders there that got us into really all this mess, they really don't care. They're right now focusing on trying to get reelected.
Now, Alexi Vidal is officially listed as a midfielder, but the talk that I've seen is that they're going to use this time that he's off the pitch to convert him to that wing back to replace Dani Alves. Do you think Alexi Vidal will make a decent wing back, or do you think it's a step down in terms of the quality you get out of Dani Alves?
I think for the first season, it's going to be definitely a step down. Obviously, Danny has played, this season he's really resurged much better, and now has merited more, a re-signing. Whereas, these past 3 years before this season, you would have said, hey, when is this guy gonna, when are we gonna get rid of this guy? But yeah, it's gonna take a while. I mean, we've seen it all. When players have come in and had to change their role. Whether it was Henry in the past, or even Messi coming in and playing in the false nine. Or even Neymar having to play exclusively on the right wing instead of just playing, a nine or whatnot. Even Messi making the adjustment to say, okay, Luis Suarez, you're not going to play in the, you're not playing in the right. Just play in the center. I'll go back to playing in the right. So I think with Vidal, he's played a little bit, obviously, in the right wing back. We've seen with Sevilla. He's done fairly well. Defensively, he needs to get there. But then again, some people are concerned, well, what about his defense? Well, how good is Dani Alves' defense? Really?
Right.
It's not at the top level. I mean, he's good, but he's not great.
Right.
And I think that's what Barcelona are really looking for. They know their system. They know what they want to do, and they want to attack. They want to continue kind of the same thing what Danny has been doing for these past seasons. And with Vidal, they're not going to ask him to be, the shutdown, right back or right wing back. They just want them to kind of emulate the same thing with Danny. If he could add a little bit more, great. If not, if he just goes by with the same thing that Alves, accomplished, which is 3 Champions League titles, I think they'll take that.
Yeah. Last question for you, totally off the Barcelona, chat. I did see that you tweeted, I believe, over the weekend that you're going to be starting up your own podcast. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I have been thinking about it for these past few months, and I think I've been doing kind of a little test podcasts here between me and a few friends, and hopefully, we're going to get this started around August. We'll have it a different day than No Limit Football, of course. We don't want to do that to you guys. Definitely for sure. But mainly we'll be talking. Obviously we'll be talking Barca, but. I'm going to be moving a little bit more as far as my articles to Fox Deportes.
Yeah.
So I'm still going to be doing SB Nation, but it's just kind of going to be maybe, whether it's, 3 times a month or twice even a month at times. I'll be always on Twitter, but, I'm a little bit more committed now as far as, signing some paperwork with Fox. And so I'm going to be doing some, articles twice a week for them. So I'm going to be focusing a little bit more on just the Champions League in general. Obviously, I'm not going to change my bias. We all know which team I follow. Right. I mean, if you see my name, you could obviously tell, which team I probably root for. So, and they don't want me to change that either. So, in this podcast, because it's something that Fox had also been interested in maybe starting up with the writers at Fox Deportes to do kind of a bilingual podcast. And I said, I could take the lead with that. So, for now, the title is just Xoel's Show, but that's probably going to change. It's just a working title. We're still just kind of doing a little test runs here and there, and we'll definitely have you guys on, when it gets started. But for now, we're just doing test runs, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, if there's one thing I've learned about podcasting is that the community is pretty tight and always looking to help each other out. So if you ever need any help with it, obviously you can reach out to any one of us, and I'm sure we'd be glad to help you.
And I got one question. I got a question for each of you guys here, as far as Copa America begins, and I'll be just chatting. I won't be covering it. I'll be mainly chatting on Twitter. But I'd like to know, or maybe you guys are going to do that. I don't know if you're going to do that this week, later on the show or whatnot. If you guys get your prediction on who's going to win the Copa America,
we are going to do it later on in the show. But
okay, good.
I've been pretty open about it. I'm happy to do it if you guys want to do it. What do you think?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Mike,
definitely.
All right. For me, to start off, I think I predicted on the beIN Sport Predictor. I went with Argentina to win it. But I'm going to add, of course, I always add a caveat, like Mike says. You've really got to watch out for this Colombia side. I really think you've got to watch out for them. And Carlos Bacca had an incredible Europa final. He's been playing really, really well. No one even cares about Radamel Falcao anymore. That's how well he's playing. And you've got Teo Gutierrez playing really well. Obviously, James is deadly from anywhere, and Jackson Martinez. This is a team with a lot of firepower. Can they keep the ball out of the back of the net? It remains to be seen. But this is a team to worry about. But in the end, I think all the class in South America right now, for the most part, rests in Argentina. So I'm going with Argentina. Rob, how about you?
As much as I want to say Paraguay,
yeah,
but no, I don't think Paraguay would go far in this tournament in general, despite making the final 4 years ago without winning a single game. But I have to agree with Joe and say go for Argentina to win this whole thing. As far as a dark horse, like he mentioned, I would say we should look out for the host, Chile. You have Arturo Vidal, Alexis Sanchez, Eduardo Vargas. You just have to look out for them and know that they're on home soil. Their fans can definitely make an influence on the side, and they can definitely help that team drive forward in the tournament.
No doubt. Mike, how about you? Your 2 cents.
Hi, Joel. It's Mike in Toronto. I'm going with Argentina also. I expect a really big tournament from Aguero, and I guess I'm sticking with my cohorts. But for me, I guess maybe a bounce back from Brazil wouldn't be out of question either.
Okay.
All right. Now, for me, I see a final of Colombia and Argentina. If hopefully they don't meet up, in a semifinal, that would be, I think, a great final. And I agree. I think, Argentina, I think just, too strong. Obviously, the talent. We'll see how Tata has built this team. We've seen him in friendlies, but now let's see him in obviously a competitive matches. But as Joe was saying, with Colombia, I would not be shocked at all. In fact, I would probably even be happy for the Colombian national team. Yeah. And as you said, Carlos Bacca, Falcao can just sit on the bench as far as I'm concerned. I would keep me Bacca in that starting line with James, with Cuadrado, with everybody else. I agree with Rob with Chile. Chile, the hosts, I would not be surprised if, Chile, pulls off the upset against either Colombia or Argentina in a semifinal or whatnot. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be nice to, I don't know about you guys, but for me, to watch a tournament and, not have to really cover it. Just you watch it as a fan. It's going to be different and nice.
Absolutely.
Joe, can I ask you one question before you head out?
Yeah.
There's some people in the chat room asking about Brazil. So what's your expectations for them? Much like the World Cup, or?
No, I definitely expect a bounce back, kind of like how you mentioned. I think Dunga hit the disciplinarian that at least the media presents him to be, is definitely has gotten them, as we've seen in their matches, given it's friendly matches, but in their matches past September, or since September, I should say, they've done well. They've looked well. For me, I'm just questioning. Okay, you got Neymar, you got William, but what else is going to come here from this offense? And they got talent, but do they have that talent to finish, to kind of finish the job in matches, and other than just Neymar and if it's William or if it's Oscar, or you got Coutinho now on the team who looked I think he got a goal against Mexico yesterday. So for me that would be just more of the question as far as their goalkeeping. If it's going to be Diego Alves, I think they're going to be fine. But for me, I just think if they were to run into Colombia, it would be completely different than what happened in Brazil last year. I think Colombia takes them probably 3-1, or if not even 4-1. That's just my opinion. Argentina might be a little bit closer one, just because it's a rivalry matchup or whatnot. But I still think Argentina would take them. But as you said, if they were to happen to somehow get into the final against either a Colombia or Argentina, it wouldn't be surprised to me. But I don't expect them to win this tournament.
All right, thanks a lot.
Yeah, we have a mention in the chat about Peru winning it all, and saying, imagine thinking Carrillo won't put in a R9 2002 performance in every match.
Yeah, we also had some love for the Reggae Boys, too, so...
Yeah.
that happened.
And, the thing is, my mother's from Ecuador, so I would like to see the Ecuadorian team do well, but, without Antonio Valencia there, I think, they won't do that well.
Yeah, and he's been ruled out for the entire tournament, if I remember correctly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm sure Ener Valencia will do well. The kid has been. He's a good striker or whatnot. But without Tonio, they're leading them both as their captain and on the pitch. Setting up plays. They're not going to be doing too much.
It's way too big of a hill to climb. I agree. So, Joel, thanks again for joining us on your way into work tonight. We certainly do appreciate it, and would love to have you back soon.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. Thank you, and. We'll be listening into the rest of the show.
You bet, man. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. Good luck with your new podcast.
No, thank you.
And that was Xoel Cardenas joining us. I had forgotten to mention that he was writing for Fox Deportes, but I did see that he tweeted a couple days ago that he was looking to start his own podcast, and he's been kind of messing around with the idea. So, maybe we'll be one of his first guests. It'll be nice to actually be answering the questions instead of asking them. Rob, your thoughts?
Yeah, knowledgeable as ever about Barcelona, and it's good to see him mention a bit of Copa America as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Do you have any closing thoughts before I get into or do you even have the statistical information from the Champions League that we can put a bow on this? Do you have that?
Yeah, I do.
You do? All right, yeah, let's go ahead and go through the stats. Obviously, you're the winner, so you get to do all the work.
Yep, absolutely. Obviously, Barcelona won with a 3-1 result. Total shots, 18 for Barcelona, 14 for Juventus. Shots on target, Juventus 6, Barcelona 8. Saves, Juventus 5, Barcelona 5. Possession, 61% for Barcelona, 39% for Juventus. Corner kicks, 8 for Juventus, 6 for Barcelona. Fouls committed, 24 for Juventus, 12 for Barcelona. 1 offside for Juventus, 2 yellow cards for Juventus, and 1 for Barcelona, and no red cards.
No, and I you bring up the yellow cards. The one thing that I want to mention quickly was the 2 cards that came to Juventus for both Vidal and Pogba, although both were certainly warranted, I think came early to the point where Vidal could have had a better game than what he did. He actually played much, much better in the second half before being substituted for Pereira in the 79th minute. But I think that if Vidal wasn't sitting with that yellow card, I think he would have been even more of a bulldog in that midfield. And, things might have been slightly different. I don't know. I go back to what I said. The best team did win. So I certainly don't want to go against that. But I think that does change the complexity of the match a little bit. And I thought if Allegri made any mistake, it would have been that he brought Pereira on in the 79th minute. And he probably should have brought him in like the 69th, 68th. I would have liked to have seen him come in a little sooner, especially for Vidal, who then was, handcuffed by that yellow card. But, obviously it wasn't to be. So, Mike, any thoughts, as like I said, as the neutral on the Champions League final? Any closing thoughts before we move on in our show?
No, not so much. I just agree with you that the best team did win.
Yeah. So, all right, you know what? Let's our next guest, Tom Marshall, is going to be on in about 5 to 10 minutes. So, Mike, if you want to take us through the comings and goings of the MLS week and our match of the week from last week, we'd love to hear it.
All right, you're just going to have to give me a second, Joe. I wasn't quite ready.
Oh, sorry about that. I sprung that on you.
I'll do a quick roundup first before I do our match of the week then. Just hold on 1 second. My computer's slow. Good radio. Okay, here we go. It started with DC United and Chicago Fire. It was 3-1. DC United beat Chicago. There was 3 games on Wednesday, actually. So Philadelphia took on Columbus and surprisingly beat Columbus 3-0. That was a shocker. Montreal also shocked Vancouver 2-1. I think Montreal's won 3 or 4 in a row after their win yesterday. On Saturday, or was that Friday night? Sorry, Houston Dynamo beat the New York Red Bulls 4-2. And the weekend action saw the Toronto FC beat DC United 2-1. 2 goals from Sebastian Giovinco, 7 for the year. 7 goals, 6 assists, I think. I might have that backwards. Philadelphia Union couldn't continue their winning streak. New York City FC picks up a much-needed win on the road, 2-1. The Impact continued their winning ways, slowly moving up the table with all those games they still have in hand in the East after their Champions League run. They beat the Columbus Crew on Saturday 2-1. Orlando City beat Chicago Fire 3-2. Our match of the week, which I'll save till the end, was Sporting Kansas City and Seattle. Vancouver Whitecaps beat the LA Galaxy for the second time this season, 1-0 on Saturday in Los Angeles. Portland Timber beat the New England Revolution 2-0. Portland may be slowly getting it together. Joe, you said you thought they were better than their record indicated about a month ago, so there was a 2-0 win over the Revolution. Did you happen to see any of that game?
Nope, I didn't get a chance to see that game. Saturday was a little bit of a blur for me with everything going on in normal life, that I didn't get a chance to see much of that. And, really just focused on, for Saturday, ended up focusing on the Champions League match, opening of the Women's World Cup, caught some U20 action late at night, and then mixed family time in between. So,
fair enough. Okay, and actually a lot of the games in the MLS this week due to injuries and mostly international call-ups. The action was a little bit dull, to say the least, as was proven yesterday when Real Salt Lake drew Colorado 0-0, and then in the late game, San Jose drew FC Dallas 0-0. Our game of the week was Sporting Kansas City taking on Seattle. And both teams had some serious shuffling to do due to a combination of injuries and international duties and one family duty, as Clint Dempsey had a son that was born on Saturday, so he missed the game. Obafemi Martins was out with a broken nose, Chad Barrett with a hamstring, Christian Nemeth was away with the Hungarian team, and Dom Dwyer started on the bench after missing the last 2 matches for Sporting Kansas City with a variety of knocks. The game itself was rather tame until the 84th minute when 50-50 ball resulted in a penalty kick for Sporting Kansas City's Stephen Fry, the goalkeeper for Seattle, was given the penalty, and Benny Philhaber was able to convert the penalty in the 84th minute. Kansas City is now 6-2-6 and ran their unbeaten streak to 7 matches and recorded their 3rd straight clean sheet as Tim Miela made a career-high 6 saves for his 4th shutout since taking over for the now-departed Louis Marin. I don't know what happened to Louis Marin. Do either of you guys know? All of a sudden he was just gone from the Kansas City lineup after starting every game until the last 4.
No, I don't know what happened to him at all.
I don't know if it was a loan recall or something, but I haven't been able to find anything, and his name's just completely gone from their website now. Anyway, it was Phil Harbour's 5th goal of the season, and that's his most goals in an MLS season. Seattle is now 8-4-2 and had their unbeaten streak ended at 4 matches despite putting all 6 of their shots on frame. Seattle are at home to FC Dallas this weekend, while Sporting Kansas City are off until the 19th. They have a U.S. Open Cup play game on the 16th, and actually they're off till the 21st when they will take on Real Salt Lake. I had the game 2-1 Kansas City. Joe, you had it 1-1, and Rob had it 1-1, so I guess we were all wrong on that one, but I'm not sure we anticipated that Obafemi Martins and Clint Dempsey wouldn't play for Seattle, so there's just no way of replacing those two, the two best players.
Someone in the chat says, I believe, like Rana of Columbus, he had his contract canceled because of homesickness.
Oh, well, okay. Well, that's a weird one, but it's something like that happened, because like I said, he started every game and then all of a sudden he was just gone. Quick look at the standings. Shows DC United on top in the East with 28 points. The Revolution in second with 21 points. In third is the fast-charging Toronto FC with 19 points and 4 games in hand on DC United. In fourth is Orlando City SC with 17 points, tied with the Red Bulls on 17 points. Columbus Crew have 16 points in 6th place. It's the Union in 7th with 15th, outside of the playoff spot. And also outside is the Impact with 14, but they've only played 10 games. So a couple of weeks from now, we could see them a little further up the table. Chicago Fire played 13 games and have 14 points. And in last place in the East is the New York City FC on 11 points. The West sees Seattle on top with 26 points, tied with the Vancouver Whitecaps, also on 26 points. Sporting Kansas City in third with 24. In fourth place is a tie with Portland and FC Dallas, both on 22 points. Sixth place sees the Galaxy with 21 points. Outside of the playoffs in the West, Houston on 20, San Jose on 19, Real Salt Lake on 18, and Colorado with 14. Did you want to look at the goal scorers, Joe?
Yeah, definitely. Go for it.
Okay, just let me load that in quickly. The goal scorers didn't see much of a change because of a lot of the players missing this weekend. Kai Kamara still leads with 10. It's Wondolowski with 8. A trio of players in third on 7, including Will Bruin, Sebastian Giovenco on 7, Clint Dempsey on 7, and then a whole slew of players on 6. So many I won't bother naming it, but the top goal scorer is Kai Kamara. The assist leader is Sebastian Giovenco of Toronto and Ethan Finley of Columbus, both on 6. Phil Halber and Dempsey on 5, and Brad Davis, Taylor Kemp, Pedro Morales, and others on 4. So I guess that's the MLS in review, Joe.
Thank you. And we do have a match of the week that we're going to be bringing up in a couple of minutes. One of the other things I want to mention that in the Women's World Cup, Cameroon and Ecuador have kicked off. Currently no score there in the 4th minute of play. So obviously kicking off tonight's action, we have the U.S. Women's coming up in about 30 minutes. But joining us...
Where's the U.S. game? In Winnipeg?
I believe it is in Winnipeg, because
it is.
Grant Wall had tweeted that it was the mosquito capital of Canada. So I'm assuming...
I guess Jeremy St. Louis would agree with that.
Yeah, I guess. So joining us now on Low Limit Football from ESPNFC is Tom Marshall. Tom, this is Joe Usello. How are you tonight?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you for joining us. We're really happy to have you on. I want to kick it off. Obviously, as we were explaining earlier, your coverage for ESPNFC is of the Mexican Liga MX, but more specifically, even a lot of the American players that play in that league. For example, and I'd like you to correct me if I'm wrong. First of all, but the first team that I want to talk about in Liga MX is Club Tijuana, who just doing a little research on on Liga MX and the American players that are abroad, they have the biggest population of American players overall in Liga MX, with 7 players currently on the squad. Hercules Gomez, who does belong to Tijuana, is currently out on loan, and they actually have another player in Ascension in the Ascension League, which is the second division. Why do we see so many American players going to play for Tijuana? Is there something specific that you could put your finger on?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a policy of theirs. I mean, they're absolutely going after, especially Southern California, into Arizona. I mean, they consider it their territory. And if you look at it, there's actually not many kind of first division professional clubs. In a kind of, you can drive. I think 10 hours is the nearest away game for Tijuana. You have to go to Torreon. I think now actually Dorados de Sinaloa in Culiacan. I think that's going to be a bit nearer. But I mean, they've got all this geographical space of like northwest Mexico, and then they've got this whole section of land in the US, which I think that a lot of people feel is under-scouted in terms of especially Southern California up to Los Angeles, even Northern California, and I think that they're absolutely determined to kind of mine that talent as much as they can.
Mm-hmm. Okay. A couple of players that I want to focus on. Obviously, Hercules Gomez, who belongs to Tijuana but currently playing for Puebla. He's done, he's seen time for the U.S. men's national side, but really haven't seen him there much lately. How is he playing this season so far, if you have a read on how his season's been going so far?
Yeah, I think he's done all right. I mean, I think with Puebla, it was a case of, they won the cup and he was like the starter for most of that run. But in the league, they were fighting against relegation, so I think that they didn't want to kind of mix the two teams, and I think he suffered from not playing very often for the in the league. So yeah, I think overall pretty decent, but obviously lacking the first division minutes.
Okay, I also have a question coming over from chat on Ventura Alvarado. Alvarado actually spelt it, but I think it's Alvarado, as the latest Liga MX player to break into the U.S. men's national team. Who do you think could be next out of Mexico that would come up for the men's national team?
Oh, the next one, that's a difficult one. Yeah. I mean, I think you look at I don't think there's one, apart from the ones that are in there now, I don't think there's one obvious one at the minute, because obviously they've got to be getting regular playing time. And I think that it's pretty interesting, because if you look at it, Klinsmann's actually called up at least once or twice every single American guy in the Liga MX who's got regular minutes over a consistent season, for example. So I mean, I think the opportunity for all these young guys who are making the way up through Liga MX youth systems is definitely there. Mm-hmm. I quite like Jesus Vasquez, who plays for Leones Negros. Unfortunately, they just got relegated, so he'll be in the second division next season. But and then you've got people like Paul Arriola, who obviously has done good stuff for the US U20s, I think it is now. Yes. And then John Riquejo, who's a left back over there at Tijuana as well. You hear a lot of good things about him. Stevie Rodriguez, who's the guy at Dorados de Sinaloa, who just won promotion. He's had a decent season. So yeah, I mean, there's a few of them knocking around down here, and it wouldn't be surprised if in a few years there are definitely a handful more that have got capped by the US.
Yep, and the last name that you mentioned, Stevie Rodriguez, is actually owned by Tijuana as well, so it all comes full circle. I do have a Mexican national team question, but I'm going to turn you over to Rob, and because he may have more Liga MX questions before we run into the national team stuff. So, Rob, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yes, hi, Tom. Nice to have you on the show today. I just have a few questions regarding William Yarbrough of León. How much of an effect does he have on this side, and how much of an effect can he have on the national team? Do you see him becoming the future starting goalkeeper of the United States national team?
I think it's difficult, obviously, because you've got that kind of Howard who's having a bit of time off, and then you got Guzan, who's obviously just seems absolutely certain to take over, and he has been this year while Howard's not been there. But I think behind that, you've got a group of goalkeepers now for the US, and I think Yarbrough is very much, in there as one of them. I think that for León, especially when Gustavo Matosas was coach, I thought he was the absolute perfect goalkeeper for that team because Matosas is probably the most attack-minded coach in the Liga MX, and he was very focused on his goalkeeper being able to play with his feet and distributing the ball kind of straight away. So it'd be like as soon as Yabra got the ball, he'd be like 1-2 seconds and it'd be gone. He'd really try and get the team kind of on the front foot as soon as possible after receiving the ball. So I think that's what he brings. He is that type of goalkeeper. He's got the ability to win your games. I mean, he can pull off some spectacular saves. At the same time, he does make a few mistakes, a few like kind of high profile errors. So I think he's actually really exciting to watch because of that. Because he is kind of really extreme. And obviously, in terms of the US national team, if you can cut out those errors, then I think all of a sudden you've got a very, very good goalkeeper. And I know Miguel Herrera over at the Mexico manager didn't want to admit it, but I think he would have been involved for Mexico. I think at the Gold Cup this summer, because you look at Mexico's third choice is Meliton Hernandez, who for me, just isn't international quality.
Okay. Switching gears now to Toluca, how much of an effect has Jose Cardoso had on the side since taking the team about 3 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, he's done all right. I think that last season it was really disappointing that they didn't get in the playoffs. I mean, I think that, and after the season, I think they had talks with the ownership, and they were considering whether he was going to stay on in the job or not. So he ended up staying, and I think now this next season coming up is going to define Cardoso at Toluca. Obviously, he's a club legend, so that helps him. And I think in a couple of years now it's the centenary, so they're gonna celebrate 100 years of the club. So I think the idea is that he would be in charge because arguably he's the greatest ever player to play for Toluca. So yeah, he's just a massive name at that institution, and it'd be good if it works out because it's always kind of a nice little story when former club legends come back as managers and do well.
Switching gears from the Liga MX to now the Copa Libertadores, obviously we have 4 teams, one of them being a Mexican side, Tigres. Yeah. Explain their run of success so far to the semifinals, having been drawn in a group with River Plate, Juan Aldrich, San Jose, and then going into the knockout stage, defeating Bolivian and now Ecuadorian opposition.
Yeah, no, I think Tigres, they've got a lot of money and they've got a deep squad because of that. They've got some top players like, Damian Alvarez has been superb this season, and they're an experienced team. I mean, they really know what they're doing. Tuca Ferretti as well is probably the most experienced coach in the Liga MX, so he's got his team really kind of playing how he wants him to play. They have a lot of possession. They're not particularly exciting to watch. It's not like that kind of possession which is always seeking to go forward. It's like almost like defensive possession where they like to keep the ball as much as possible and kind of wait for the opportunities to come up front. But yeah, I think they just have been a very solid team, and I think a team that have just been around together for a while, and I think that's shown in the Libertadores, which obviously traditionally Mexican clubs have really, really struggled with.
Have we lost our connection?
No.
Rob, are you
I'm
there?
still here.
Oh, Tom, there you are. Okay, sorry about that. It sounded quiet.
Yeah.
So, Rob, you're there?
Oh, yeah. I'm
Okay,
here.
go ahead, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Do you see them being a dark horse to win this whole thing?
Who's it? It's Internacional next.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's a really, really tough game. I mean, it really is, and I think that it depends a lot on which players Miguel Herrera is going to call up from Tigres for the Gold Cup, because you got to assume players like Jesus Dueñas, who else in the Hugo Ayala's been in the Copa America. I'm trying to think who else, but I mean, if you've got a full team, then I think they've got a chance. But I think it's going to be very difficult. I think they got a bit of luck playing against Bolivian and then Ecuadorian opposition in the 2 knockout stages so far. And I think that now looking forward to a Brazilian giant like Internacional and the players that they've got, I think it's difficult. But if there's one team that you would think could do it, I mean, Tuca Ferretti, Tigres, his coach, is from Brazil, and I'm sure he'll be absolutely desperate to make a big impact.
Okay, I just have one last question before I pass it to Joe. Obviously, we know Mexico played three matches before the start of the Copa America: a 3-0 victory against Guatemala, a 1-1 draw in Peru, and a 2-0 loss against Brazil. What would they have to take away from this match in order to improve against the host Ecuador and Bolivia in the Copa America?
Yeah, I think they've struggled, to be honest. I really do. I mean, I think that if they're taking away the positives from that game against Brazil, I think the first 25 minutes they played quite well. I mean, they played with two defensive midfielders with Güemes and Osuna, and I think that really helped them kind of be a bit more stable compared to against Peru. I mean, I think against Peru they were very lucky to get away with a draw. I mean, I thought that Peru actually played quite well, and and should have come away with a victory there. But I think there's a lot to work on, to be honest. And obviously, it's only a couple of days now before the tournament gets underway. I think that it was always going to be very difficult. This is a B squad. I mean, Miguel Herrera absolutely hates when people in the press and people like me call it a B squad, but there's no doubt about it. It is. I mean, Mexico's best players are going to be at the Gold Cup, and not a lot of people don't agree with that. A lot of people would like to see Mexico's strongest team in the Copa America, which is obviously the stronger competition. And but you take a B squad to a competition like the Copa America, and you have very little preparation time. You're trying to get players to adapt to Miguel Herrera's 5-3-2 system, which obviously most clubs don't play with. So players have got a short amount of time to get to know the positions. Like, most of the wing backs he's taken aren't used to playing wing backs; they play full back. And obviously that comes getting used to the position further forward takes time and experience, and I think that Mexico have really suffered because of that. And I think they're going to struggle. I think that if they get out of the group, it'll be an achievement, and I think after that, I can't see them going any further.
All right, thank you so much, Tom. I'm going to pass it over to Joe now.
No worries.
Thanks, Rob. I just want to continue the discussion on the national team, because that was kind of my last question, was talking about their Gold Cup side versus their Copa America side. Just looking at the Copa America team that they've put together to go down to Chile, really the only players that they've chosen that play outside of Mexico are Jesus Manuel Corona, who plays for FC Twente, Javier Aquino, who plays for Rayo Vallecano, and I'm missing one. Raul Jimenez, who's playing for Atletico Madrid. Really, just looking at this particular side that's going down there, in my opinion, the most dangerous player on there is Marco Fabian from Guadalajara. What kind of changes is Miguel Herrera going to make from this side that you see going to Copa America to the side going to the Gold Cup?
I think that, there's also Rafa Marquez, who's in the squad, is another Europe-based player. But I mean,
that's right, Verona.
I think that firstly, I think Fabian, I think he was primed to kind of make an impact at the Copa America, and I know for a fact he's just desperate to go to Europe. Mm-hmm. And obviously, the Copa America, is a window of opportunity for these Mexican players. And I think that the only problem with Fabian at the minute is I'm not sure whether he's going to even start or not. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he does, but at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't. So, I don't know. I think we'll have to see on Fabian. In terms of the Gold Cup squad, it's going to be completely different. There's only one player, Jesus Corona, Tecatito. He's the only one who's going to be playing in the Copa America and then at the Gold Cup. So, in the Gold Cup, it's Miguel Herrera's priority. They want to win it and then get the playoff against the United States, I think in October, to get a place in the Confederations Cup. So he's made it big time a priority. He's tried to say that both competitions are important, and obviously Mexico they're gonna try in the Copa America. But I mean, the strength of squad is just is very weak compared to what's going to the Gold Cup. I mean, you look at the Gold Cup, just at the striking positions. Herrera plays with two strikers, and you've got Carlos Vela, Chicharito, Giovanni Dos Santos, and Oribe Peralta, which is four really, really good players going for those two positions. And then you look at the Copa America squad, and there's just nothing like that competition, apart from Raul Jimenez. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt the priority for Mexico this summer is the Gold Cup, and the Copa America will just. I think it's more a case of crossing your fingers and hoping for the best down in Chile.
Okay. My last question just escaped my brain. Okay. As far as the Copa America goes, what would be a successful tournament for this particular side?
Yeah, I mean, Miguel Herrera is, obviously the last World Cup he got a lot of kind of fame and popularity. He was like a little darling of the press really because of his statements. And I don't know, this time around he's kind of, he said that, Mexico are going to surprise one or two teams, that they're going to be able to reach the final, and then from there they're going to win the competition. Okay. But if you look at the 3 warm-up games, it's a long way between to go from where Mexico are at right now to winning this competition. When you look at the quality, I mean, I think that four of the teams that are in the Copa America in FIFA's top 10, and I think 3 of the top 5 are from South America as well. So it's an incredibly strong competition. So I think that for me, if we can get out of the group stage, I think that'll be a success. I think the worst thing that could happen would be what happened 4 years ago for America, which was an embarrassment where I think they didn't get a single point, and I think they only scored 1 goal, which was an absolute disaster. And I think Miguel Herrera needs to hope that obviously that doesn't happen as a minimum. But they've got Bolivia in the group. Bolivia are the weakest team in the whole tournament. So you've got to think that the opening game on Friday is absolutely vital for Mexico. And with I think a few of the third place the third places in the group will get to the knockout round. So with a win on Friday against Bolivia, I think then Mexico have got a decent chance to make the first knockout round, the quarterfinals.
Okay. Yeah, and as far as the team that goes to the Gold Cup, are they? Would you put them as the favorite to win that, or would they consider them co-favorites with the United States, or do we think that Costa Rica will cause a lot of noise from there as well?
Yeah, it's it's weird. It's like you look at the Mexican team and you look at some of the players they've got, and you think, yeah, has to be favorite. I just think the quality is there to for them to win. But then you look at the recent record, especially against the US. I think it's now 5-6 games without a win. And you look at Costa Rica, who are obviously doing decent things. I'm not sure it's been they've been quite as successful since the World Cup, but I think those 3 are definitely quite a distance ahead of the rest now. And yeah, I think you have to put Mexico favourites, but with the caveat that Mexico's had very little going its way recently in the CONCACAF region. We've got to look back to the World Cup qualifying, which is an absolute disaster. And I think the way you're looking at it now for Mexico is this Gold Cup is a chance to kind of get back on top and kind of really show some authority, because to be honest, over the last couple of years it has been really lacking in terms of Mexico being the number 1 team in CONCACAF.
Thank you. Before I forget, we wanted to let you go because I know we're pressed on time, but I want to thank you again for coming on and joining us tonight. We've never really had a great opportunity to discuss Mexican football in depth, and I'm glad we did get to have you on to do that because it was really a pleasure, and we hope to have you back soon.
No, thanks very much, and anytime, just give us a shout.
Fantastic. Thanks again. Have a good night.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And that was Tom Marshall from ESPNFC. Rob, your thoughts?
Yeah, very knowledgeable about all things Mexican football.
Yeah, we looks like right now, gentlemen, I know we still have plenty of listeners listening to the show, but for some reason we've had a problem with our chat room. I am going to reach out to Sam from Four Dragons Media to see if it's something that he can fix for us quickly, but I think it's probably going to be something that we'll have to wait until our next show to see what's going on. So hopefully, obviously we're gonna go back to Twitter like we always did the old way, just like I think it was just Liam that just tweeted that. We're back to Twitter to doing this. It was Liam that said back to Twitter it is. So it looks like we're going back to Twitter to using our chat as well. So I apologize for any of the malfunctions here, but hopefully we'll get this corrected sometime soon. But again, going back to what Tom had to say about Mexican football, it is interesting to see that Miguel Herrera is turning the Mexican side focused really to the Gold Cup. And when you really think about it, I would imagine that I would proceed the same way, because to me the Gold Cup is probably a little bit of an easier tournament to win. It gets you the free ride, or they'll get into the playoff with the United States to get into that Confederations Cup, which they could also win. So it seems like the easier path than rather than have to go through Argentina and Brazil and Chile and Colombia like we've talked about. So I get it. It's just that to me it's like the Copa America is a much more prestigious tournament, and you hate to see them kind of poo-poo that a little bit, but in essence, that's what they've done here. Rob, what are your thoughts on Mexico's approach to the next few tournaments?
Yeah, it's going to be quite difficult having to contend for both tournaments, the Gold Cup and the Copa America. Having a B squad for the Copa America, and then this all-attacking side for the Gold Cup. So it'll be interesting to see what Miguel Herrera will do on both tournaments.
I mean, if it's me, looking at the players that he's invited to the final squad for the Copa America, obviously I'm taking a hard look at those fringe players that are on this side and seeing just exactly where it takes them. Because your Chicharitos are going to be on there, your Gio dos Santoses are going to be on that side. Those guys are all going to be there. So now it's a question of, even the Jesus Corona, who he was talking about before, but guys like Javier Aquino, Juan Carlos Medina, are these guys that can, even Mario Osuna at Querétaro, can he jump in and help? So that it starts to focus on who are those fringe players, where do I need the most help from the fringe players? Also, one question that I would have is Rafa Marquez done? And this is a great spot to prove it in. If Rafa Marquez has a fantastic Copa America, then he's got to be a shoo-in for the Gold Cup, because, like we said, Herrera is going to take his A squad to the Gold Cup, and does Rafa qualify to be in that spot? So let's move on with our show. Obviously, we've got Jotita Bernabe joining us in about 15 minutes to discuss the Copa America. So I do want to kind of touch base on the FIFA news of the week. Obviously, when we left last week, we had probably one of our most spirited discussions in terms of FIFA and what's going on with Sulaiman Folarin and Juan Arango. It was a great discussion. Overall, it was a great chat. But obviously, it held a lot of pressure with FIFA, Mike, right? Because the following day, Uncle Sepp stepped down.
Yeah, I think he got afraid of us.
Because we did reach out to him to come on the show, right?
It can't be coincidence.
No, I don't think it can be either. But, and reportedly, according to the most recent report that I've seen, Prince Ali will reportedly try for the position. The question I have to you guys on this whole situation, before we step into some of the other stuff with the whole FIFA mess, why does Blatter go for the presidency, win election, only to step away 4 days later? Do you think that he knew he was stepping away when he ran for office, or do you think that this kind of snowballed over the weekend where it was like, oh, geez, I can't hold on to this position, and he walked away? Mike, what are your thoughts first?
I'm not sure, Joe. It's all peculiar to me. I don't really know.
All right,
Who knows what that he's a genius, I think, so I don't know how he thinks.
Yeah. Rob, how about you? What do you think happened there that caused him to step down 4 days later? Do you think he knew he was stepping down, or do you think do you think he was he wanted to win just to say, screw you guys, I'm still the king of this world?
No, I think something must have happened during that course of 4 days after the elections. Something must have happened, but it's debatable. Anything, it could be said about anything, really.
Yeah. I think, in my opinion, I think what happened next over the weekend was really the final straw. I don't think Sepp Blatter really saw himself totally seeing this term out, to be honest with you. I think this was inevitable, but I don't think Sepp Blatter was expecting it to happen 72 hours after winning re-election. The next thing that I wanted to talk about was the link that came up, and it came up about 2 days. Well, actually, I'm sorry. It came up, I think, the evening of our show. but it might have even come up the day before. And that was the day before because Juan had made reference to it in our chat, was that the email link from the South African Football Federation to divert $10 million to Jack Warner for, as payment. It was for development of some program, but really it was paying for the vote for South Africa to win 2010 World Cup. The letter was, and I'm going to read this from the ESPN article, a 2007 email shows FIFA President Sepp Blatter and then South African President Thabo Mbeki held discussions over $10 million that ultimately went to allegedly corrupt football executives as payback for supporting the country's World Cup bid, a newspaper claimed on Sunday. So the South Africa Sunday Times reported that the email from FIFA Secretary Jerome Valcke to South African government asks when the $10 million will be transferred. So basically, this was the slush money that was going to Jack Warner to solidify the votes to get South Africa the 2010 World Cup. And what we have here in this email, in this situation, is a direct tie to the front office of FIFA. And I think that was something that was completely unescapable for Sepp Blatter. And hence his decision to step away. But Uncle Sepp, is not going to leave without a little bit of controversy. He is staying on until a successor is named for him. How nice of him! And to me, that stinks of corruption. Basically, Blatter is going to step down, but he's not going to step down until he names the guy that he wants to be the boss. In my opinion, Mike, I'm going to go to you. What do you think of that statement? Do you think Uncle Sepp is sticking around out of the goodness of his heart, or do you think he really wants to dictate who runs this thing for the next 4 to 8 years? Not only that, he wants to hand select the successor who will keep those World Cups in Russia and Qatar as stated.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think if the FBI comes for him, he's going to have much of a say in too much. Yeah, right. I don't know. I just think that's the way, 4 to 6 months seems, unless, you have to remember he's resigning. It's not like he's been pulled out of office yet. So that's usually how it works, transition period, even though this is FIFA, it's unusual.
Right. Rob, how about you? What do you think of that situation? Do you think it's, do you think that's the case where he's trying to hand select his successor, or do you think that it's just he's following FIFA bylaws the way he's quote unquote supposed to be?
I think it's just his personal decision. He has as much control, if not a lot of control over any other people. So I think he has the authority to pick who he should choose as his successor. I'm not surprised.
Okay. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about in terms of FIFA here is the obviously some of the things at hand. Really, what's really started to bring down this whole regime was the selection of Russia and Qatar for the 2018 and 2022 World Cups, respectively. And according to Domenico Scala, head of FIFA, and this was published a couple days, or actually just yesterday, should there be evidence that the awards to Qatar and Russia came only because of bot votes, then the awards could be canceled, which is, I think, something that everyone's kind of looking at now. I believe the English FA came out and said that they would not interfere or even request to be the 2018 host because they lost the vote. And to me, if the FA did come out and say that, it's almost as saying, screw you to FIFA. You need help. We're not helping you. So, Rob, what are your thoughts on what Mr. Scala had to say and where we stand today with the facts that we have listed at the moment? Do either of those countries lose their World Cups?
It's anything's possible, really, happening in FIFA now, what we've been watching and looking at in the past few weeks. So I'm not surprised if they don't. I'm not surprised if they will. It all goes down to what the sponsors have a say in it, and of course FIFA in general.
Right, Mike. How about you? Same question.
But your question was the facts that we have today. So the facts that we have today, no, they won't lose the World Cups. But the facts we could have in 2 months or 3 months from now, I could see Qatar losing it.
Okay, how about Russia?
No, I think it's getting a little long in the tooth for Russia to be able to lose it now,
late.
unless they just cancel the whole tournament.
Which, okay, let's look at it that way. Do you think that'll happen?
No.
Okay, Rob, same question.
Yeah, of course. I have someone from someone DM'd me right here. He said that he could add that I believe Blatter couldn't handle the outcry against him in Europe. With Europe being such a big power, even Platini wanted him out, as well as 99% of major FA leaders.
Right. I believe, though, the Spain Federation actually voted for Blatter this time around. I want to say Spain and Italy, but I definitely know Spain. It might have been Spain and France. I'm not 100% positive. Breaking news: Cameroon just scored. Looks like the 34th minute. Cameroon 1, Ecuador 0 in the Women's World Cup at the moment. So,
the U.S. kicking off.
And the U.S. kicking off, which means I am switching off the Cameroon match, and I am going
kicking off. It's in the 4th minute.
No, have already kicked off.
Yeah, beautiful stadium in Winnipeg. I never knew.
Yeah, well, AstroTurf will do that for you.
No, but the stadium itself is very nice.
Well, is that where the Winnipeg Canadian football team plays, or the football league team? I'm not even sure.
Is there a Canadian football team in Winnipeg? I don't know of it.
I'm not sure.
It could be a USL team, I guess, but I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah. Oh, and that looked like a big save, but I can't tell who's wearing what at the moment. It looks to me like I'm not even sure. It looks like the U.S. are in white. Is that correct, gentlemen?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Oh, so that was a big save by Hope Solo there.
Yep.
Looks like they're under a little bit of pressure from the Australians to start this one off. So we'll keep an eye on this one, and we'll keep you guys updated as the match progresses. But to close out this FIFA thing, obviously we'll continue to report on this in the weeks to come as we get news. The way things have been going lately with FIFA, this could be a weekly segment. Honestly, the way things are shaping up, hopefully not.
Yeah, really, hopefully not.
Hopefully they get this thing resolved once and for all, and we'll get on with it. So, gentlemen, I do have to reach out to Jotita to see if he's ready to come on. So I'm not quite there just yet. But I do know that there are a few topics that we still want to cover. We want to cover the Under-20 World Cup. Obviously, this Women's World Cup, which kicked off on Saturday. Germany's result yesterday, which was ridiculous. But I do want to hold the Copa America until we get a little bit closer to Jotita because that's what we're going to be discussing heavily with him. So let's talk about the Women's World Cup right now. Obviously, as it's going on right now, we just saw Cameroon go up 1-0 on Ecuador. U.S. and Australia are currently playing to a 0-0 draw. The match or the tournament opened on Saturday with Canada, 1-0 winner over China with a penalty kick in stoppage time in that one in the second half. The Netherlands, who for me, I did watch this match as well on Saturday, really did everything they could. This New Zealand team was hard pressing for, I'd say, 60 or 70 of the 90 minutes. But the Netherlands managed to hold them off and win 1-0. Yesterday we had Norway 4-0 over Thailand, which a match I did not even get to see the highlights of that one. I don't know if either of you gentlemen saw that at all. And either of you gentlemen see any of the highlights from the Norway-Thailand match?
I watched a bit of it. It was, Norway wasn't that impressive considering the opposition.
Okay. All right. And Norway is supposed to be the class of that group along with Germany, who's ranked the number one team in the world. Germany, I did catch most of that match yesterday, put a 10-0 drubbing on the Ivory Coast in their first Women's World Cup match ever. Mike, you and I were kind of going back and forth on Twitter a little bit on this one, and I think I had left it as 7 or 8-0 is where I thought it would finish after about 2-3-0. Mike, it was pretty early. It was about 2-0 or 3-0. And I think I tweeted 7-0 or 8-0, and it was 10. I mean, your thoughts?
Yeah, I said it could be more, so I'm not really that surprised. I thought I predicted in my head before the game 11-0. Wow. I just didn't want to say that out loud, but I'm not surprised. There's going to be a lot of scores like that, especially in the opening round with 8 new teams being added to the tournament this year. There's a big drop in quality between the top 8 teams and the bottom 8 teams in this tournament. Mm-hmm. I think the real test of how far women's soccer has come will come in the knockout rounds and whether we get a few scores like this, and then we'll see there's still a long way to go.
Right.
But in this opening rounds, I'm not surprised. There's going to be a few more of these like that.
I would think as well. Moving on to today, a match I did not get to see, but is full time. They've just completed it. Sweden 3, Nigeria 3. I don't know if either of you gentlemen had a chance to see any of that at all. As I was, preparing for the show tonight, I didn't see that. I also want to update Cameroon now up 2-0 on Ecuador. That just came across my my computer screen. So 3-3 Nigeria Sweden in Group D action. Which is the other half of the U.S. Bracket. The U.S. widely considered to be in the group of death with Australia as well. In Australia, certainly proving to be a little bit of a tough task here in the opening minutes of this match. But Cameroon over Ecuador 2-0. We've got later on tonight Japan and Switzerland kicking off in Vancouver. That is at that looks like, I believe, at 8:30. I'm sorry, at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock this evening, I believe. So we'll see that one a little later. We made our predictions last week on,
Which game is that? No, the next game's at 10 p.m. Eastern. He's talking Japan and Switzerland?
Yeah, is it at 10? Is it labeled at 10?
Yeah, it's in Vancouver, so 10 p.m.
Oh, so they're going to kick off right after the Cameroon-Ecuador match.
Yeah.
Okay, so yep, that's kicked off.
Cameroon-Ecuador's already at halftime.
I haven't refreshed my my screen yet, but I have.
Well, close to halftime. No, there'll be about an hour between the two games.
Yeah, and I have right now on my screen I have Cameroon Ecuador 2-0 Cameroon in the 40th minute, and the USA is currently in the 9th minute 0-0. So, some of the matches coming up the rest of the week. We got France England tomorrow in Group F action, Colombia Mexico, which should be an interesting one in Group F action as well. Brazil's got the Korean Republic or South Korea coming up, and then Germany back into it on Thursday against Norway, which is going to be probably the highlight of the day. Canada New Zealand will also be a great matchup on Thursday night. Let's see what else we've got here, and then on Friday the U.S. get back to action against Sweden, which will be a difficult one. Australia Nigeria will be a good one as well. And Japan-Cameroon will also be a great one. Cameroon obviously winning right now. Japan is the defending Women's World Cup champion. And Rob, I saw that, so I think we'll have to hold off there. So that'll do it for our FIFA Women's World Cup. We'll return on Tuesday of next week. Actually, a program note: we will not be broadcasting on Monday next week. We will be on Tuesday night at 6 o'clock instead. So we'll definitely bring all the highlights, and of course we'll be broadcasting again during a U.S. women's national game as they'll take on Nigeria on the 16th. So we'll have to deal with that then.
Who's your Golden Boot winner
for the U.S. For the
tournament?
For the tournament is gonna be what's her name? The woman that scored the first 3 goals for Germany yesterday. I think had a great opportunity and they pulled her out. But I think at 3 goals, you're.
Yeah, I know who you mean. Yeah,
I can't think of her name right now.
See, that's the problem with this tournament and big drops in class, depending on what group you got in. Like, there you go, 10 goals yesterday. So the Golden Boot winner might not necessarily be who you would think it should be, just based on the fact, some teams get put into a group where they're not going to beat a team 10-0 because the quality of play is equal, whereas, then you can get into a group where, or maybe even get into a group with 2 teams where, possible 8-0 scores are possible against both of those teams. So it is hard, but I'm going to go with Marta.
Gentlemen, breaking news. Megan Rapinoe scoring for the United States on a deflection, 1-0 USA in the 12th minute. So we're off and running. Marta's not a bad choice.
I'd like to see Christine Sinclair win it, but we're in a group where we're not going to have any blowouts in the first round.
Right,
so.
Not going to be a ton of goals there. I mean, obviously, she had to score that penalty kick in extra time to win that one for Canada on Saturday. I would like
nerves of steel that girl has.
Absolutely. I'd like to see Kristen Press for the United States. I know everyone's going to be sentimental, want Ambi Wan back. I don't think she's going to see enough time on the pitch. And, oh, my God, big save by Hope Solo there. I don't think she's going to see enough time on the pitch to challenge for that Golden Boot. Likewise, same thing for Alex Morgan with the recovering from the injury. I don't think she'll be there. So I'm looking at Kristen Press or Cindy LaRue at least leading it for the U.S. And then
is it Celia Sasek for Germany?
I don't remember. That's what I was doing. I was actually going to see who scored those goals for Germany.
I think it was Celia Sasek.
I think you're right. Let's see. Yeah, it was Sasek. She scored in the 3rd minute, the 14th, and the 31st minute. Mittag scored the next 3 goals for them. But
a lot of people have Cecilia Sasek winning the Golden Boot.
Yeah,
a lot of the so-called experts. So,
and she's on her way. I mean, it's nice to score 3 goals right off the hop against Ivory Coast.
2, right?
No, she scored 3.
Oh, I thought she's the one that got pulled at 2. So
no, she did get pulled, but she got pulled after 3 goals.
Oh, I thought it was at 2. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, great start then.
Yeah, great start for her. The way this game is materializing, Hope Solo is going to be the goaltender of the tournament. She's already come up with 2 huge saves. I know I'm not going to bother getting into the controversy because at this point it is what it is, and we're kind of focusing more on the players on the pitch than the controversy off the pitch. But she's come up with 2 absolutely enormous saves in the first 15 minutes of this match to really keep the U.S. ahead 1-0. So she's got to be the goaltender of the tournament right now.
Yeah, that's not the kind of controversy I care about either.
Exactly.
It's not like she killed anybody.
Exactly. Rob, I've done enough talking about the Women's World Cup. I don't know if you've got the FIFA Under-20 stuff up and loaded. If you do, if you want to go through some of the results from the Under-20, because we're really getting into we're almost getting into the knockout stages at this point, right?
Well, we are at the knockout stage.
Yeah, so if you want to go ahead and give us the lowdown.
All right. In Group A, we have 3 teams qualifying. Ukraine with 7 points, the United States with 6 points, New Zealand, the host, with 4 points, is the best third-place team. Following the 4-0 result for the United States against New Zealand, that ensured their spot in the round of 16. However, a 3-0 loss against the Ukraine was unable to give them the win as winners of the group. In Group B, a shocking Group B, Ghana and Austria qualified with 7 and 5 points respectively. Argentina out of the group. Eliminated following a 2-2 draw against Panama, a 3-2 loss to Ghana, and a 0-0 draw over Austria, as they have not received a single win as coming into this tournament as one of the favorites. Mm-hmm. Group C, Portugal, Colombia, and Senegal. Portugal with 9 points, Colombia and Senegal respectively with 4, advancing to the knockout stage. In Group D, Serbia with 6 points, Uruguay and Mali, both with 4 points, and qualified to the knockout stage as well. In Group E, Brazil, Nigeria, and Hungary advanced to the knockout stage with 9, 6, and 3 points respectively. In Group F, we have Germany and Uzbekistan qualifying to the knockout stage. Germany have not lost a single game, have scored 16 goals in the process, and only conceded twice. In the ranking of the third-place teams is New Zealand, Mali, Senegal, and Hungary as the top 4, while Honduras and Argentina go home. The knockout stages are as followed. On Wednesday, we have Ghana versus Mali in Wellington, Serbia against Hungary in Dunedin, United States against Colombia in Wellington, Ukraine against Senegal in Auckland, Austria and Uzbekistan in Whangarei, Germany, Nigeria in Christchurch, the host against Portugal in Hamilton, and Brazil, Uruguay in New Plymouth.
From the teams that are left, Rob, and from the matches you've seen, what teams impressed you the most?
Definitely United. I guess I have to say the United States as well, but definitely Germany has impressed me well as Brazil. Both teams have not lost a single game. Portugal as well; they've impressed me very well. But I am really
Portugal's only given up 1 goal.
That's correct. They have scored 10 goals in the process and only conceded once.
And they got Marco Lopez.
Mm-hmm, Marco Lopez.
Then back the next big thing for Manchester City.
Mm-hmm. They gave up that goal this weekend to oh boy, it just went out of my brain. Colombia. They had beaten Colombia 3-1 on Friday night, and that was the only goal they gave up. I was going to suggest Portugal. The other team that I've been reasonably impressed with is Ukraine. I've got to go back and check the group standings on them because I know that they won the group over the United States. But again, 2 wins, 1 draw. They haven't given up a goal. 9 goals for, 0 goals against, 7 points. Only draw coming as a 0-0 draw to New Zealand. but they look like a solid team as well. They, obviously great on the back line. They've had some good goaltending so far through the match. So or through the tournament. So they've been pretty impressive. Again, this Portuguese side really impressed me in their match against Portugal. And then like you said, the Brazil didn't lose a match in group stages. Germany didn't lose a match, only gave up 2 goals, but scored 16. Although their group was a little weak with Uzbekistan, Honduras, and Fiji. So expected out of that German side. The Brazil group was a little tougher with Nigeria and Hungary and the North Koreans in there. I think the Portuguese group was a little on the difficult side, with Colombia and Senegal there. Qatar managed to play, rather tough as well for the most part. But
Joe, let me ask you a bonus trivia question.
Yeah.
Do you know who holds the record for the youngest goal scorer in an FA Cup game?
An FA Cup game. I'm going to go with something stupid and say Jack Grealish.
No, it would be the aforementioned Marco Lopez.
Marco Lopez, how old?
Playing in this under-20 tournament. He scored at the age of 17 years and 9 days.
Wow, that is awful young, to say the least. So.
And I guess he played for Lille this season.
Okay.
And he had 3 goals in 18 games. I'm not sure how he's doing that tournament. Do you know, Rob?
I think he's been doing well. He's been doing well.
Marco Lopez for Portugal, we said.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go take a look at him real quick and see if I can find anything, anything of interest on him. I don't know if he scored this against. Let's see. He didn't score against Senegal. I'm just checking the box scores here quickly for him.
Yeah, he hasn't scored.
He hasn't scored. You were able to. Okay.
Yeah, he hasn't scored yet.
I don't know why I thought he might have scored against Colombia, but.
No.
Nunes, Andre Silva. Oh, that's
Andre Silva top goals with 4 goals in the tournament.
And I was gonna say Andre Silva. Yeah, was the guy that I was thinking of. So okay.
So did 2 teams in 3rd place get into the next round? Is that how this worked?
Yes.
No, 4 teams in 3rd place got into
4. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think there were.
2 got knocked out.
They were.
So every 3rd place team was through too? Only 1 team was eliminated?
2 teams.
So how many 3rd place teams made it again?
4. So you have.
And there were 6 groups, right? Okay, yes. So okay. Wow.
So they were. I believe there were New Zealand, Senegal,
Mali, and Hungary.
So Portugal is heavily favored against New Zealand, right?
Yes, that is correct.
No doubt about it. And then the U.S. play Colombia. Who also came out of the Portuguese group, finishing 1-1-1. Obviously drawing Senegal, beating Qatar, and then losing to Portugal in their first 3 matches. So certainly not going to be a walk in the park for this United States side, but they've looked pretty good at times as well, I would say. Obviously a tough spot against Ukraine, but I think Ukraine is playing very, very well, but certainly showed very, very well against New Zealand and Myanmar in 2 victories there, scoring 6 goals in those 2 matches. So, and I see your message, Rob, so we'll have to we'll hold off until then. You guys want to pick a winner for this U20 tournament? Now that we have our brackets set up for the knockout stages, anybody you see that has the best path?
I'm going with Portugal.
You go Portugal? Rob, how about you? Come on, throw your 2 cents in there.
Germany.
All right, then let's see. Just looking at the brackets, you know what? I'm going to throw the Ukraine in there. I'm gonna be the contrarian to both of you, and I'll go with the Ukraine. They've got Senegal. Then they're going to play the winner of Austria, Uzbekistan. Then they're going to.
Your picks are like being on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's. I've just kissed that all away, so that's all done. But I'm gonna. All right, then you know what? I'm gonna pick Colombia to win the U20 World Cup. How's that?
Oh,
kiss of death. There you go, Colombia all the way.
That's how you should do it.
That ought to be 6-0 USA at that point.
Yeah.
And then when we come back next week, I'll pick whoever wins the Serbia-Hungary match. How's that?
That should work good. Just let me call my bookie before you make the pick.
There you go. All right, so Jotita's going to be on in about 30 minutes. And obviously I wanted to do Copa America very heavy with him, and that's really the last topic that we have to go through tonight, other than our week ahead and our trivia answers. So let's take a look at the week.
Well, we haven't mentioned anything about CONCACAF World Cup qualifying starts this week.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes,
That's
you.
right.
That's right. I have it up right here. So we do have some European
And Euro qualifying also.
Euro qualifying and CONCACAF. I don't have the CONCACAF stuff loaded. Do you guys have that information loaded up?
Oh, I'll get it.
I do.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mike.
Mike, yeah, go ahead and give
It
us the rundown.
starts, what's today's month? It starts on Wednesday. These are the lesser CONCACAF teams, obviously. Do you want me to go through the fixtures, or?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, St. Vincent and the Grenadines takes on Guyana. Antigua and Barbados take on St. Lucia. Curacao and Cuba. And Aruba and Barbados, and these are all between 3 and 8 o'clock on Wednesday. It continues on Thursday with the Dominican Republic and Belize at 4 o'clock. Dominica and Canada at 7 o'clock, so I'll be having a special interest in that one, even though apparently it's not on TV.
Wow.
And St. Kitts and Nevis takes on El Salvador. Sorry, Rob?
No, I'm just saying, wow.
Yeah, I don't understand why, but there might be a stream, apparently, according to the paper today, so we'll see.
There should be.
I guess it has to do with, actually, this could be a true thing, telecommunication availability out of Dominica.
Well, where are they playing? Well, what about the second leg?
That will probably be on, because that'll be here, but the
You know
first
where?
leg's in Dominica. Where the second leg is?
Yeah, we're in Canada.
Hold on one second. See
Toronto.
if they tell me where it is here. No, it doesn't say where it is.
Hang on, let me see. Let me try to find it.
Okay, and I'll go on with the rest of these then. So Thursday, I'm not sure if I finished. That was Dominican Canada at 7 o'clock. St. Kitts and Nevis versus El Salvador at 8 p.m. These are all leg ones. Continues again on Friday with Puerto Rico and Grenada at 8 p.m. and Guatemala and Bermuda at 10 p.m. Then on Sunday, I guess we start the second leg, the return legs. It's Cuba and Curacao on Sunday at 4 o'clock. Belize and Dominican Republic at 6. Guyana and St. Vincent and the Grenadines at 7. And St. Lucia versus Antigua and I think I said Barbados, but it's Barbuda.
Yep.
At 7 p.m. On Monday, it's the aforementioned Bermuda taking on Guatemala, and it's the return leg for Canada against Dominica at 7:30 p.m. And the final day of this leg of qualifying is Grenada and Puerto Rico on Tuesday, the June 16th at 3:30. Suriname and Nicaragua at 3 p.m. And for some reason, this first leg of this tournament's already been played, the Suriname-Nicaragua qualifier, and Nicaragua is up 1-1, so that second leg will take place on the 16th. I'm not sure when the first leg took place. And El Salvador and St. Kitts and Nevis at 9 p.m. Also leg 2. Oh, yeah, they'll all be leg 2, but this one actually, the leg 1 of Suriname-Nicaragua has already been played, and Nicaragua won it 1-0. So that is the first part of CONCACAF qualifying for the lower-ranked CONCACAF teams.
I just want to mention the second leg for Canada versus Dominica will be at BMO Field.
Oh, yeah, maybe I'll go to that.
You should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
At least that those games will be affordable.
Yeah, and they matter.
Hopefully.
Can I just quickly, Joe, do we have a little bit of time?
We do.
Mention a couple of the MLS or names that we might know that's on this Canadian squad, if you don't mind.
No, please go ahead. Just breaking news: 1-1 in this USA match. Australia scored in the 22nd minute.
Okay, so a couple of the familiar names that Canada has are maybe not that familiar because it is Canada we're talking about. Lars Hirschfag, who plays in Norway. Nana Adekora, who played for Montreal and Toronto. He's now on the San Antonio Scorpions. Ashtani Morgan from Toronto FC. Carl Ume from the New York Red Bulls. David Edgar from Birmingham City in England. And Nick Ledgerwood from Energy Cottbus in Germany. So that's some of the defenders that you might know. Maxim Tissot from Montreal. Julian de Guzman from the Ottawa Fury. A player I really like. I don't know if you should know. You know Atiba Hutchinson, Joe?
The name doesn't ring a bell to me.
Okay, he's played a lot in Europe. He is currently on Besiktas in Turkey. I think there was talk that he was coming to the MLS, but I believe he just re-upped with Besiktas for 3 years. So that doesn't sound like it's going to happen anytime soon. He's a great player. I really like to watch him play. Will Johnson from the Portland Timber, back from his leg injury, so he'll be back in the Canadian squad, I think, for the first time in 2 years.
Wow.
Jonathan Osorio from Toronto FC, who did an excellent job in place of Michael Bradley on the weekend. Mm-hmm. There's a Samuel, I'm not familiar with this name, but he plays for Deportivo La Coruña in Spain, Samuel Piet. And then we've got Russell Tebert from the Vancouver Whitecaps rounding out the midfield. In the up front is Kyle Aaron from the Orlando City FC. And making his Canadian debut, Tisho Akindele from the FC Dallas. So I'm kind of excited about that one, especially since we've just lost Dwayne Di Rosario. So we're going to be really looking for someone to put some goals in the net, and maybe Tisho can be the guy.
And we've had the discussions of Tisho Akindele, which way was he going to go? Was he going to choose the U.S.? Was he going to choose Canada? So it looks like he is definitely going the Canadian way, which...
I'm glad that he's done that. I think it's better for his international career, because I don't think he could make U.S.
Right.
With Canada, he'll be the guy.
Yeah, he would struggle.
He wouldn't be that with U.S.
He would struggle to definitely make the U.S. side. I don't think he's a shoo-in. I don't think he's a total miss, but I don't think he's a shoo-in. So,
but with Canada, he's almost guaranteed as long as he's in the squad to play and start.
Right, exactly.
Him and Kyle Aaron, I would think.
Yeah, exactly. And Kyle Aaron's done very, very well for himself so far this year, I think.
Yeah, I'm excited about the two guys up front. Our defense is a little suspect, but I don't know. I wish we could get into the World Cup, but maybe we're going to have to take the Qatar bid, and that'll be our way in.
Well, I mean, I can't remember who their opponent is in this round. I think it was somebody.
Dominica.
Okay, so they should definitely beat Dominica.
Right, except we are 109th ranked in the world for some awful reason, but they're 168th in the world. So yeah, we should be able to. Just don't want to take a team too lightly in this type of thing, because we've seen it happen before. But yeah, you're right. It should be 2-3-0 on both ends, I would think.
Yeah, I would think as well, and it shouldn't be any less than that. And obviously there's some uneven matchups. I think the El Salvador one was one that kind of comes to mind. Even the Dominican Republic should probably breeze through their match. I think El Salvador was playing Bermuda, correct? If I remember correctly.
Let's see if I can find that for you.
I think he's right.
El Salvador. Wow, of course I can't find it.
Yeah,
of course we can't find it when we need it. I'm assuming that you probably remember.
Again, I'm just recalling it from memory. Obviously, you ran through all the matches, and I was just some of the ones that were kind of clicking in the back of my brain were those. So I'm gonna hit up real quick. Obviously, Jotita Bernabe is gonna be on in just a couple minutes, so I do want to get through. Are
you sure I said El Salvador?
I'm almost because it wasn't Honduras.
El Salvador against St. Kitts.
St. Kitts and Nevis?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I forget who Bermuda was.
Bermuda is playing Guatemala.
Guatemala, that's the one. Which again, both of those matches, those Central American sides are definitely stronger than their opponents, and then they're not quite the level of Panama, Costa Rica, coming out of the region, and that's one of the reasons why they're in this second playoff round, and they're not actually in the group stages or even the hex. So, going to be a little time before they get there. Just to follow up on other qualifiers, we have qualifiers for the Euro this weekend coming up on Friday. We have Kazakhstan, Turkey, Iceland, Czech Republic, Latvia, Netherlands, Andorra, Cyprus, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Israel, Wales, Belgium, Croatia, Italy, Malta, Bulgaria, and Norway, Azerbaijan. Those are all Friday matches, gentlemen. Some of the big ones from there, Iceland and the Czech Republic are the top two teams in Group A. Italy and Croatia, the top two teams in Group B, I believe. I'm sorry, in Group H. I believe in Group B, Wales and Belgium are the top two teams in that particular division as well. What I noticed going through here, and that's why I really didn't pick one game for Match of the Week, because there are so many top two team matches coming up this weekend that it's going to be some exciting qualifying. And mind you, they're halfway through the qualifying for the Euro. And also, I want to mention that Liam just put in the Twitter chat that it's a must-win game for Ireland this weekend. Ireland will be facing off against Scotland on Saturday. Poland, Georgia on Saturday. Armenia, Portugal. Finland, Hungary. Northern Ireland plays Romania. Faroe Islands against Greece. Denmark against Serbia. Gibraltar against Germany. Those are all Saturday tilts. And on Sunday, we have the Ukraine playing Luxembourg. Estonia playing San Marino. Slovenia playing England, which will be no pushover for the Three Lions. Liechtenstein, Moldova, Russia versus Austria, Sweden versus Montenegro. Zlatan gonna Zlatan in that one. Lithuania and Switzerland. Belarus plays Spain, and Slovakia will play Macedonia as the last qualifier on Sunday. And then after that, gentlemen, they, I believe, go until September. This is the only round of qualifying matches for the Euro being played over the summer before we get back into the league play. And I know, Mike, that makes you so, so happy.
Oh, yeah.
When they do that. So, yeah, and Mike, on this one, I agree with
this
you.
This weekend was particularly annoying since it's not even a FIFA date.
Well, this particular qualifying round of the tournament.
No, the one that just passed, the weekend that just passed.
Yeah, and they lost a lot of
people. It's not even an official FIFA date, so that one really annoys me.
No, again, FIFA didn't, club teams didn't have to release their players until after June 1st. Let's see here. Liam's also saying in our upcoming Euro game against Scotland, one to watch, but it'll probably be boring. He's talking about the Ireland-Scotland matchup that is coming up this weekend as well. But I think the Irish side should definitely handle Scotland. Scotland's, really had a falling from grace. I don't believe they've qualified for any major tournaments over the past few years. So the next match day, which is match day 7, is September 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And then 6th, 7th, and 8th for match day 8. And then we have 2 dates in October and then 2 dates in November, which are the playoff legs. So, again, you go in June. Why couldn't they go 12, 13, 14, then let's say the following weekend? These teams, these European sides are not in, let's say, a Copa America or a Gold Cup or anything like that. So no reason they couldn't have played these guys June 12th, 13th, and 14th, and then take it maybe 2 weeks later where they could have gone the 26th, 27th, and 28th and added another date there. So shame on FIFA for not, or shame on UEFA, really, not FIFA, but shame on UEFA for not providing that extra date here and being able to take a date off the backside of the match, like taking the last matches in October and being able to eliminate them. So,
and shame on MLS for this tweet they just made.
I missed it. What did they just...
The quest for the 3-star starts now. Number 1 national team, USA. Hashtag FIFA Women's World Cup.
Yeah,
they do know there's Canadian teams in this too, right? And that the league is represented by players all over the world. That's a ridiculous tweet. But at least we know where MLS stands, I guess.
Yeah, they've always been an American... You can't.
It's not right, though.
I'm not suggesting that it is, but I can understand where it comes from. I just, like you said, they're a league that represents 2 countries. They probably should have shut their mouth. They didn't need to tweet that. But you understand why they tweeted it. So, And again, just to update, 1-1 still. It looks like the 32nd minute according to my TV screen on that one. So, any of these before I bring Jotita on, any of these teams or any of these matches that intrigue you? Mike, I'm not going to ask you. I know you hate them.
I don't hate the qualifiers. Just I'm not that interested in any of these particular matches.
How about you?
I will watch the Ireland match, but
yeah,
I agree.
I'm hoping to catch the Croatia-Italy one. The other one that was interesting to me, there was one on Friday. I'm just looking for it. The Iceland-Czech Republic match. I know Victor Scamorza will be definitely watching that one. And Iceland, a team that was just within inches of qualifying for the World Cup this past year, really been coming on strong. So it's going to be interesting to see how well they do and if they can get into this, into the finals of the Euro. Would certainly be a huge accomplishment for them. So, and Liam even went so far as to tweet MLS back and saying, "What are you doing? Delete lads," on that tweet you're talking about, Mike.
Yeah, well, at least Liam understands. Yeah, that's just not right.
Yeah. So, it figures. Rob, let's talk about what you put in the chat there quickly before, that'll be a nice lead into Jotita. The probable team for Argentina versus Paraguay. That looks to me like, unless somebody switched nationalities, that's an Argentinian side.
That is.
Yeah. Tell me what you think of that lineup just for the record. Rob put out in our chat that Romero in goal, Zabaleta, Garay, Otamendi, and Rojo on the back line, Banega or Gago, with Mascherano, Pastore, Messi, Aguero, and Di Maria leading the attack. I think of that, guys. You just even without the Gago or Banega mention, Mascherano, Pastore, Messi, Aguero, Di Maria. Didn't mention the two Juventus guys yet. That is a ridiculously good team.
Yeah, it's insane.
Does it even matter who's on that back line?
Well, definitely. I mean, you look at that back line in the World Cup that made the final.
Yeah.
Are they like the Edmonton Oilers, Joe, of the days when they didn't really, they'd give up 6 goals but always score 7?
Yeah, I mean that is a good, comparison.
That was the old saying. They tell the goal Grant Fuhr before the game, just don't give up more than 5. We'll be okay.
Yeah, and that was Yari Curry, Messi, Mark Messier, Gretzky. Wow, that was a heck of a side.
And Coffee on defense, scoring.
Yeah.
Forward like numbers.
Former Hartford Whaler. I digress. Let's before we get way too off, let's bring on our next guest. And he's been gracious to rejoin us. I believe for the 3rd time. He's one of our 3-time guests. So, but he's always fantastic to have on because he's so knowledgeable of South American football, and that is Jotita Bernabe. Jota, welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
Good night. How are you?
Good. First, feliz cumpleaños. See?
Tomorrow is my birthday.
It's close enough.
Yes. Yes, that's right.
Happy birthday. Thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate you coming on. We want to talk about Copa America tonight as we kick off the tournament in in 2 days.
Yes.
And we've been kind of talking about them, so on and so forth here. We had Xoel Cardenas ask us earlier who we thought would win the tournament, and all 3 of us agreed that Argentina would win the tournament. Your thoughts on who will win the tournament? I know we're kind of asking questions backwards. Who do you think will win the tournament first?
I'm agree with you guys. I think Argentina is the best team right now. Have Messi in a terrible moment. Messi just won the UEFA Champions League a few days ago, so I think Argentina is the most complicated teammate to right now, and I think Argentina is the favorite to win this tournament.
Okay, if there was a dark horse or a team that obviously with Argentina being such a big favorite, if there was a dark horse, who do you think that would be? Somebody that could win the tournament.
It's really hard. It's really hard. I think Argentina is the favorite, and then we have another selections who have a very good performance on Brazil 2014, and I think Colombia, for example, have a very good team. Chile, Brazil, maybe right now with Dunga, have something that maybe will accommodate in this Copa America. But I think these four teams are who have more chance to win the Copa America.
Okay. Bringing the focus over to Paraguay as a team that's not expected to do much, for this to be considered a successful tournament for Paraguay, what do you think has to happen? How far should they go for you to say that this was successful?
Here we don't have a lot of hopes of this team because we played last Saturday. We have a friendship match with Honduras, and we didn't play really well. We was very slow. Players doesn't show so many things. So we are really worried here in Paraguay because we don't have a lot of hope to win this Copa America. If we play the semifinals, for example, I think it will be a very surprise presentation of Paraguay. But we don't have a lot of hope to this election.
Okay. I'm going to send you over to Rob. I know Rob has plenty of questions about the Copa America, so Rob, go ahead.
Yes, hi, Jotita. Nice to talk to you again. What do you think went wrong for Paraguay against Honduras a few days ago?
I have to say everything. We are a very slow team. We have no surprises. We don't have an association plays, and we was really slow, and that's the most important thing today in football. We don't have that rhythm that maybe will complicate the other teams. We play with Topo Cáceres and Nestor Ortigosa in the midfield, and we are really slow. You know, we don't have that change of rhythm that maybe will complicate the other teams. And Honduras show us a lot of things that maybe we are doing wrong. Ramon Diaz, until today, he don't have the team. He don't have the 11, the starting formation right now, and we have a lot of doubts here because we can see a real change in this election. Is the most it's everything the same players. You know, Paulo da Silva, Roque, Aedo, Villar. It's the same list, and maybe we hope a few days ago when Ramon Diaz have the list. We hope and we saw that maybe Ramon will change some of these names. For example, Santander, the Guarani forward, have a very good moment right now. Jose Ortigosa, Cerro Porteño's forward. Sergio Diaz, for example, the young player of Cerro Porteño. And we hope and we thought in that moment that Ramon Diaz will put them on the list. But we still have the same thing, the same players, the same mistakes about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, you were mentioning one of the names that that should have made the list. I was thinking about one player in particular, Jorge Moreira. Do you feel that he should be on the team?
Yes. That was the biggest surprise here in Paraguay because when Ramon Diaz arrived to Paraguay and we asked him who was the player who surprised him about his play, the way he played, and he said Jorge Moreira, and he said Moreira is the better defense the right defense that we have here in Paraguay is one of the most better players that we have in Paraguayan football. And then Moreira doesn't show in the list. I mean, he let him out of the list. And we play with Marcos Cáceres like a right lateral, and then he proved Bruno Valdez. He's a middle center defense and plays like right defense. So, of course, we had a big surprise when Moreira in the final list.
Okay. Do you think Alfredo Aguilar, with his good performances in the Copa Libertadores, will start over Villar, Justo Villar?
Alfredo Aguilar is a young goalkeeper, but in the last games, he showed that he is a very safe, a very confident, and he is a very good goalkeeper, but sometimes he's very insecure. But in the last performance, he showed that maybe he needs some chances in the Paraguayan team, like Anthony Silva. Anthony Silva the same. He's playing the Colombian tournament finals. But I think Alfredo Aguilar it's green right now. He's not mature in this moment. He's a good keeper, a very good goalkeeper. But I think Villar is one step up of Alfredo Aguilar.
Okay. Do you feel that if this competition goes bad for Paraguay in the Copa America and don't have a good performance, like don't qualify for the quarterfinals, do you think Ramon Diaz is going to make a huge change to this team? You know, some players are going to retire. He's going to call up many players. What do you think is going to happen? What's your prediction for this Paraguay team?
Very good question. We always here in Paraguay we ask the same, and like I said before, we really hope, and we thought in that moment that Ramon Diaz will change some players, and we need a change with players, with young players, and we need a mix with experienced players in selection. I think we will not have a good performance in Copa America, and I hope that Ramon Diaz in the qualifiers for the World Cup to Russia, I hope that Ramon Diaz change some of these names that have a lot of years in Paraguayan team, but it's very hard to have a prediction because we thought in that moment, 1 month ago, that Ramon Diaz will change that names, and he didn't. So it's very hard to have a prediction because Ramon Diaz, I think his goal in this Copa America with the same players that doesn't qualify in the Brazilian World Cup, the last qualifying. And it's very, I think we will not have a very good performance in Copa America, but I hope, and we have here a huge expectative to the Russia qualifying to change some of these names, and we will see. We just have to wait. But here in Paraguay, Copa America is just approved for this election. It's like a test to the qualifying.
Yeah, of course. I hope they prove all of us wrong, because a lot of people think we are not going to do well. I just want to change the topic for one last question about Jose Luis Chilaver. I want you to talk about what happened with him and Gabriel Casaneve, a journalist, where apparently he hit him a couple years ago. Can you talk about that?
I think Chilaver is a very cyclotimic person. He changed a lot of. He changed so many times his opinion, and that depends where he is. He lives more in Argentina. He don't live here in Paraguay. And when the Paraguayan Association here in Paraguay have an elections, have authority elections, elections, he always supported Naput. He always did it, and then he changed his opinion. Naput is stole. Naput is not honest, and something like that. And he had a very unfortunate situation with Gabriel Cazenave in France after the World Cup of France, and he punched to Gabriel Cazenave. And they have that situation about a few years ago, and they never had a solution about that, and they had a really bad situation last day on radio, and it's normal. We know here José Luis Chilaver, we know he changed so many times his opinion. Today he loves you, tomorrow he hates you, and that's normal. And we know him, and it's the way he is.
Well, he was totally fine when I met him a few weeks ago in Paraguay at the airport. He was really calm, really nice and everything.
He's very calm. He's very calm when he loves you. But then if you say Chilaver is not a good coach, for example, and then he say, you are a bad journalist, you don't know everything about football, who are you? I won everything, you never win anything, and something like that. I mean, he's really changed.
Yeah, absolutely. Just one last question. Do you think Juan Ángel Naput becomes president of FIFA?
I don't think so.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to pass it over to Joe.
Thanks, Rob. Jotita, I just want to close out with one quick Copa Libertadores question. Obviously, we have the Final Four wrapped up here. We have River Plate, who's the 16th seed, versus Guarani, the 13th seed. But River Plate, people seem to forget that they are the Copa Sudamericana champions, still playing well, and were beating Boca Juniors up until that whole incident happened at the Bombonera. Can Guarani beat River Plate to advance to the final? Can they be the Cinderella story that San Lorenzo and Libertad were last year?
Nacional.
Oh, Nacional. I keep doing that. Nacional and San Lorenzo. Obviously we're two underdogs, smaller clubs, but made it all the way to the Libertadores final last year. Can Guarani be that team?
I think Guarani can beat River Plate. I think Guarani have a very good team and a really good coach right now, like Fernando Jubero. I think Guarani can beat River Plate, but it will be a very tough series. River is a very good team playing in Buenos Aires, but Guarani has something. When Guarani qualified to the 8 finals of Copa Libertadores de America, Corinthians says Guarani is a very accessible team, and Guarani beat Corinthians. And then Guarani had to play with Racing, and Racing say the same. The best thing that could happen to us was playing with Guarani, and Guarani beat Racing. So here Guarani, it's a very surprises participation in Copa Libertadores America. Have a very good players like Santander, like Fernando Fernandez, like Patiño, like Cáceres, like Maldonado, like Alfredo Aguilar. And I think Guarani can beat River, but Guarani in both matches have to have a perfect performance. They have to play the best performance ever in this Copa Libertadores America, because River is for my opinion, River is more than Racing de Argentina.
Okay, I agree with you too. Jotita, thank you again for joining us tonight, especially on short notice. We always love to have you come on the show, and hopefully we'll have you back again after the Copa America, and we can recap all our predictions to see if we got anything right. So thank you again, and again, happy birthday.
A pleasure. Whenever you want, I'll be here. Always is a pleasure talking to you. So whenever you want, I'm here.
Great. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Gracias.
And that was Jotita Bernabe from Paraguay joining us to recap or to finish up our coverage of the Copa America, as we made the predictions with Xoel Cardenas that all three of us believe Argentina is going to go ahead and win this thing. Kicking off on Thursday, we should say. I don't think I'm not sure if I wrote down the time of the first match. I did not, but I believe it is.
Unless you use Rob's calendar, it might be Friday.
Oh, here we go. So,
or July even.
Yeah, it might be July.
It's 7:30.
Hey, it's 7:30 on Thursday night. So, I don't know if you guys have anything else to add about our Copa America coverage, or let's kick the ball off and get things going, right, Rob?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's go for a good tournament.
All right. So gentlemen, let's start wrapping up the show as we've covered all our qualifiers for both CONCACAF and the European Euro 2016. We've covered our U20 coverage, our Women's World Cup, currently 3-0 in the Cameroon Ecuador match, and 1-1 at the half for the U.S. versus Australia. They're just about to kick off the second half there. Copa America kicks off Thursday with Chile, and we're hoping for a great tournament there. So, lastly, gentlemen, we're going to give us our week ahead. As we previously mentioned, the Copa Libertadores returns in July, and all our European leagues are off. We will actually start to talk about transfer window stuff coming up soon, guys. So the silly season is coming fast and furious. But we do have a couple of matches that we do want to throw some predictions on. The first one, Mike, I'm going to throw over to you for our MLS match of the week.
All right, it's going to be pretty light again this week on players. I expect a lot of teams to not even be able to fill out their benches. But one game that might be good, especially if Martins and Dempsey are back. I'm sure Dempsey will be because he was just away not just away, but away because of the birth of his child. And Martins, I'm not sure, with a broken nose, but it's Seattle taking on Dallas will be our match of the week. Seattle in first place out in the West. FC Dallas has slipped a bit in the last few weeks, all the way back down to 5th. If you were to just do this game on the power ranking, it's the number 1 team, Seattle, against, believe this or not, because we know FC Dallas was number 1 not that long ago, has fallen all the way to 12th in the power rankings. So I guess this game's better to be looked at on the standings. It's 1 versus 5, 26 points for Seattle, 21-22 for FC Dallas. So it's a lot closer in that respect than the power rankings suggest. And the game will take place on Saturday at 10 o'clock, 7 o'clock Eastern Time at CenturyLink Field in Seattle. I think Seattle will win this game 2-1.
2-1. And again, that Dallas team I think is a pretty good side, but they've been having some trouble lately. Weren't they also, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm going to go back and look at it one more time. Weren't they the team this past week? They were. Played last night to a 0-0 draw with the San Jose Earthquakes. More red cards than goals in that one. 3 red cards, 2 for San Jose, 1 for FC Dallas. And no goals between the two of them. So they've had a little bit of a rut as of late. FC Dallas has, like you had mentioned. They haven't won a match in their last 4 matches, and once upon a time they were top of the league. So could be a good way to get off of this run if they can pull something against the Sounders. But it's gonna, like you said, I agree with you. It's gonna be 2-1 Seattle. Gonna be tough to beat. Seattle at home, that's for sure.
And arrested Clint Dempsey.
Exactly. So, in the Euro 2016, I'd said in our plan that there were just too many matchups between first and second place in their respective groups to really put our finger on a particular match. So obviously I will have a significant interest in Croatia-Italy, which I think will end up probably being some type of draw. 1-1 I'm going to go with. We have, again, Liam is looking at the Ireland-Scotland matchup, which I'm going to go out on a limb and say 2-0 Ireland in that one. But certainly plenty of matches to watch over the weekend in Europe, to say the least. So, Rob, I'm going to throw it over to you because we do have a Copa America match that we want to highlight for this tournament. So if you want to take it away.
Yeah, of course. We have to kick off, as Jotita both stated, Argentina play Paraguay Saturday at 5:30 for the first match of Group B. I guess you would say it's the biggest challenge for Paraguay in this tournament. Mm-hmm. as well as even for Argentina. But you look at this side on paper that Argentina has, it wipes the floor compared to the team in Paraguay. It's just words cannot be said about this team. But I think, as Jotita mentioned, there isn't really much expectation for this Paraguayan side to do any damage. This Argentina side is one of the favorites to win this whole thing. So my prediction will be 3-1 for Argentina.
Okay. So we have those three matches that we're highlighting for the weekend. Seattle 2, FC Dallas 1, Croatia 1, Italy 1, and Argentina 3, Paraguay 1 for the Copa America. All we have left for business, gentlemen, is the trivia answer. So, Mike, if you want to give us the question again, and did Liam get it right?
He did.
Of course.
Which player has scored the most Premier League hat-tricks without having won a Premier League winner's medal?
That's where I messed it up.
Do you want me to go?
Go ahead. I have a name written down, but go ahead.
Michael Owen?
No.
Oof.
Emmanuel Adebayor.
No.
Is it a Liverpool player or a Liverpool legend?
It is.
Steven Gerrard.
No.
No.
Robbie Fowler.
That is correct.
Robbie Fowler. Okay.
Has to be a Liverpool player. That was kind of a given.
I was thinking about that.
So
it'll always be a Liverpool player because they will never have a Premier League winner's medal.
Yet.
Ever. Their chances are getting slimmer and slimmer, Rob. They're not as good as they were 10 years ago, that's for sure.
Not even 10 years ago.
So, gentlemen, with all of our business wrapped up, shall we hit the closing music?
All right.
All right. Let's see if we can get this rolling here and turn it down a little bit so I can talk over it. So, next week, well, first of all, this week, thanks again to Tom Marshall, to Xoel Cardenas, and to Jotita Bernabe for joining us. Always a pleasure with the first, with Xoel and with Jotita, and it was fantastic to have Tom Marshall on for the first time to talk Mexican football. Coming up next week, we are on Tuesday night, so just to let everybody know, we will be broadcasting Tuesday the 16th at 6 p.m. Hopefully we will have the chat room open again for that. We have our guys actually working on it as we speak. So, again, thanks to Sam Gibbs from Four Dragons Media, right on top of it and is working on it right away. In the chat room, the names that I could remember and wrote down quickly that I want to thank for joining us there, Luca, Liam, James, Steve, UCL Winners, and Base Douglas. Those guys that I did catch their names in the chat room before it went down. Thank you for joining us to open that chat room. We really do appreciate it. Also, next week, we're going to recap the U20 World Cup, the Women's World Cup recap. We'll kick off Copa America and talk about that stuff, and the Euro qualifiers from the previous weekend. And we will also be efforting a couple of guests to come onto the show. So, for episode 76 of Low Limit Football, I am Joe Usello.
I'm Roberto Rojas.
And I'm Mike Orr.
Thank you again for joining us, and good night.
Good night.
Thanks for listening.